Series. Now, it was the least homer-friendly ballpark in baseball this season, but small sample size. But when the roof is open, it tends to fly a little bit better, and the roof will be open. They cranked it open at about 8 o'clock tonight. So we'll see with a couple of teams that hit a lot of home runs. Here come the Padres for the first time in this series with this lineup. And the electric Fernando Tatis Jr. will bat second behind Trent Grisham. And it'll be Manny Machado. And the heart of the lineup, Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, and Will Myers, who's having a great season for the Padres. Jake Cronenworth, the second baseman. Austin Nola is the 8-hitter, and Jurickson Profar starts in left and bats 9. They face off with Walker Buehler, who has thrown just 8 innings over the last month because of that blister. Now, 4 of those innings came in the wild card round against Milwaukee last week, and he was really good with 8 Ks in 4 innings.
Yeah, if he stays away from long pitch count innings, I think he'll be okay. Look for a lot of fastball, curveballs. That cutter might go down just a little bit because of that blister, but you're talking about a guy who knows he's taken over as the ace. He's a bulldog on the mound, and he's got electric stuff.
Guy they're starting to really trust in postseason games. A sub-2 ERA over his last 5, and off we go with a fastball strike on Grisham.
You don't see the classic delivery much these days. More young pitchers pitching out of the stretch, but you see the athletic windup, and it's just easy gas that comes out of Buehler's hand.
That is shot to the left side. Turner's waiting on it, and Grisham's the first out of the night. And a scoreless first inning. Up comes the spellbinding 21-year-old Fernando Tatis Jr., who is worth every bit of the hype. Baseball fans hearing more and more about him. He debuted last season. He has been one of the best players in baseball this year. And how cool that all of baseball now gets to see what San Diego fans have been spoiled by over the last year.
Yeah, everyone knew about the talent. Well, the talent's here, and this season provided an opportunity for them to be in the postseason. A lot of it rides on this young man's shoulders.
Who takes strike one. How about a matchup like this? The 97-mile-per-hour fastball and all the raw stuff of Walker Buehler against all the tools of Tatis.
Well, Buehler knows that if he gets ahead of Tatis is the one area he's struggled is when he's behind in the count. He's a monster when he's got the count in his favor.
Homered against Buehler when you saw him earlier this season. In fact, the Padres hit 3 home runs against Walker Buehler on August 3rd. Most home runs he's ever allowed in a game. Here on a 1-1 pitch, Tatis swings and foul tips it into the glove, strike 2.
See, this is what Buehler can do. He can ride his four-seam fastball up, and then he's got the overhand curveball that he'll see tonight. We already saw the slider, but he's fresh and the ball's popping out of his hand. Expect a lot of high fastballs in this game tonight.
Goes to another one. Tatis able to check his swing. 2-2. Tatis second in home runs, 4th in RBIs for an offense that finished 3rd in baseball in runs per game. Quite a turnaround for a group that been near the bottom of the majors each of the last few seasons. On a 2-2 pitch, Tatis reaches out and swats a base hit the other way. A 1-out single for Fernando Tatis Jr.
Well, this guy's swing is so fluid, and obviously he's so young, not even 22 years old, and he takes a cutter and goes the other way. Keeps his head down, even though he might be just a tad bit out front. You see he hits against that stiff front leg, and he just cherry picks where nobody is. Early in the count, he's definitely looking to launch. You saw the power numbers he has, but and I'll tell you what, he's energized the guy that's at the plate right now for me.
Quite a turnaround for him, huh? I mean, an underwhelming first season in San Diego last year, especially how he finished. Motivated by that, took ownership over that, motivated by the fact that they've been in it from the start this year. He says the most fun he's ever had playing baseball, and career best numbers have followed. One on, one out. Buehler to Machado. Ball 1.
Well, I tell you what, the Padres are going to be a thorn to a lot of the pitchers on the Dodgers. And the reason I say that, there's more to think about when a runner's on base than traditionally most of baseball. Most of baseball doesn't steal. They don't take the extra base as well as this Padre team can do. So you're going to have to pay attention to the hitter, make quality pitches, but also vary your times, because this team will steal bases. And we could talk all game of what the Dodgers have done over the last 5 years against the San Diego Padres. The statistics don't look good for the Padres, rightfully so, because the Dodgers have been so good. But these Padres don't care about the last 5 years because it's a whole brand new bunch of guys.
Timeout.
After 9 straight losing seasons, 37-23. And there's the number, 55 stolen bases in 60 games. Not often you see a team hit for power and still be aggressive on the bases.
Absolutely. That's what makes them unique, and it makes them scary. You know, again, we could talk about on paper who has the advantages. And certainly the Dodgers would have the advantage in a lot of categories. But when you're in this spot, I know it's easier said than done, but you got to convince your ball club to not be afraid to make mistakes and or outs aggressively on the bases to put as much pressure against the team that has the most depth and the most weapons to win a series, and the Dodgers do have that. So it'll be exciting to see how they handle this series on the base pass.
On a 2-1 pitch, Machado watches a perfectly placed cutter to the corner, and it's 2-2 as we look at the keys to the game presented by Ford, and you kind of touched on it.
Yeah, I think they've got to get some length from Clevenger, because that is going to carry over into everything else, the decisions they make, and they've got to be reckless. Have no fear, play reckless, take advantage of the bases, and for the Dodgers, do the opposite. Grind out at bats. Use as many of the pitchers in the pen that the Padres have, because the more you can see them, the better it is long term. Remember, 5 straight games with no days off. And that means that you're going to see a lot of guys multiple times, and that advantage would go to the Dodgers the more they see a lot of guys on this roster they haven't seen.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Machado. Buehler comes home and misses inside with a fastball. It's 3-2. Padres lost game 1 to the Cardinals in the wild card round. They trailed game 2 4-0. Stormed back, hitting 5 home runs in the late innings, and then piecing it together in that game 3 with 9 pitchers and a 4-0 shutout win.
Manny has hit into a lot of ground balls in these last 2 years. Second most.
There goes Tatis, and it's spoiled foul.
Ground ball double plays, that is. He's grounded 34 double plays since last year. And you saw the runner going. You got to have confidence in 2 things: that Manny's going to recognize the pitch and not expand the strike zone, and then of course stay out of the double play.
Tatis singled. He's at first with 1 gone. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and a guy who is a Dodger for the second half of 2018. A 2018 pennant run. There goes Tatis again on strike 3. Throw down, not in time, and a stolen base for Tatis. Machado is out number 2.
Walker Buehler has such carry on his fastball. The 4-seam fastball, that looks like it's going to be low and go lower. It stays on its plane. Bottom of the zone, great pitch. And then the speed of Tatis gets to scoring position early for the Padres.
And it gets Eric Hosmer to the plate. Yet another guy who's having his best season in a while. It's Hosmer's 3rd season in San Diego. Really struggled compared to what he'd done in Kansas City over his first 2 years, but he's put it all together again here in 2020. And he's always been good with runners in scoring position. Takes ball 1.
Yeah, runners in scoring position. He's one of these guys that hunts balls early for damage and then battles late. Now, the one thing that's given him trouble this year is the curveball, and we haven't seen the curveball yet. Typically, you as a starting pitcher would like to hide some pitches for later in the game, but when runners are in scoring position early, you kind of throw that out the window if you need to get a guy out in a big situation.
You mentioned struggling against the curveball. Buehler's got a good one, and he's used it to own Hosmer. 1 for 13 in his career against Buehler. Among many other things they're exceptional at, they've led the majors with runners in scoring position. above 300 as a team this year. Two and one. Now Eric Hosmer, he's a guy who was such a huge part of those pennant runs in Kansas City, winning a world championship in 2015. And as he went through those first 2 years in Kansas City or in San Diego and struggled, A.J. Preller said, look, this guy is meant for the big moments. He's meant for the big spots. And when we find ourselves in those games, he's going to have to be right in the middle of it. Here he is in the first inning of the division series, swinging and missing, and it's 2-2.
And there's that breaking ball, and it looked like off the fastball height. That was a perfect combination, right? He threw the fastball at the same height and then comes back with that curveball. No way to recognize if you're trying to get ready for 98. Now he can do one or two things. He can back it up with a curveball, or he can elevate this fastball up. I would vote for the elevate the fastball up at 98.
Here it comes. Full count. Tommy Pham waits on deck here in a scoreless first inning. Wheeler having to throw 20 pitches in this first inning. On a 3-2, Hosmer rips one right side, and a bounce. It's Taylor. He will throw to first in time to end the scoreless first inning for Walker Buehler. Mike Clevenger takes the ball done over the final month and a half of the season. And it's Seager hitting second and starting in short. Turner's the third baseman. In the heart of the lineup, Muncy Smith and the reigning MVP, Cody Bellinger. Pollock in left, Jack Peterson DHs, and Chris Taylor is the second baseman hitting ninth. So here we go. Mike Clevenger, acquired at the deadline from Cleveland, was doing some great things for him. He had a 7-inning shutout, then the elbow impingement. He's pitched just 1 inning since September 13th.
Well, this is a guy you're going to see very active mechanics. I mean, a lot of parts moving. What he really does at the end of his pitch is kind of he's the right-handed version of Rich Hill. And what I mean by that is after he delivers the ball, it looks like he's kicking a field goal. But look for his slider tonight. If it's on, he's got a chance through this Dodger lineup.
Rifles a fastball in there for strike one on Betts. Fastball velocity anytime a guy is coming off an injury concern is something to peek at. He's averaged 95 to 96. The first pitch tonight was 97. Here's 0-1. Here's to the inside corner for strike two.
Well, he won't be able to live with that pitch in there against Mookie. It kind of surprised him. Backdoor slider. He needs that slider on the outside part of the plate. The curveball is really the only weakness for Mookie this year. He's crushing just about everything else. But you can see Clevenger looks like he's either got ants in his pants or he's putting out ants. I mean, he's always moving, and he's definitely got the flavor of his mechanics working in his, like, this is what he's perfect. He's an action type starter that just doesn't
constant motion. And he's a very relaxed, easygoing guy off of the field. But boy, there's some kind of flip of a switch when he steps into the office. Fires 1-2. Betts lifts one to right field. There's Will Myers for the first out of the night.
And again, that slider has got to turn the corner. When Clevenger's not on his game, that slider spins in the middle of the plate, and these Dodger hitters usually don't miss him. And that's the little rust that I would expect out of him. If he gets through the first inning, which has been his roughest inning, ERA over 10, I think he'll be fine. But that's the rust. The touch pitch on the slider, he can overpower his way through the first inning. It's whether or not he has that touch and command on the secondary pitches.
Up comes Corey Seager. Well, you mentioned the +10 ERA for Clevenger in the first inning. Once he gets through that, he's got the best ERA in baseball, a 1.34. Is 1-0. Cut on a miss, 1-1. Corey Seager's reestablished himself this year as one of the top hitters in the National League. He's an all-star and a silver slugger each of his first 2 seasons in the majors, 2016 and 17. And he had Tommy John surgery, missed almost all of 18. Even though he got healthy, even though he had good numbers in 2019, he said he didn't really feel right at any point. He was quarantined feel extra good. And he has been pretty hot from day one. On a 2-1 from Clevenger. Strike two with a changeup.
Yeah, well, so Corey Seager has dominated fastballs 95 and above. You see the sliders where he struggles the most. So Clevenger's trying to pick his spots and where he can make fastballs appear for a strike, but never throw it for a strike and depend on his slider changeup combination.
Joss misses off of the inside. Count goes full.
And that's where he's got to do. He busted him up and in. He's got to try to get that tailing fastball to catch the corner, because Seager is not missing anything over the plate. That's why he's having a special year.
Takes ball 4. The Dodgers have their first base runner of the night.
Well, when you're going good, as Corey Seager is, you see the pitches. You almost see them slower than they're actually coming in. The ball looks bigger. Earlier last year, he would have swung at that pitch as fast as you can get him to the plate. But now when he's seeing everything and he's healthy, that confidence is exuding, and you can see it in his performance.
1-on-1 out for Justin Turner. I mean, both these lineups, though, it can't be a whole lot of fun for a pitcher to try and go through.
No, because, you know, talking to Dave Roberts, he said his #1 command for his club is grind out at bats. Make it tough. Don't throw any at bat away. Nobody does it better than the guy at the plate right now. When you talk about what makes the Dodgers go, the first thought is going to come, okay, Mookie Betts. But then you'd be hard-pressed to not say Justin Turner. He's the one that stirs this lineup and makes him go.
Longest tenured position player for the Dodgers in his 7th season. Lines up almost exactly with these 8 consecutive division championships. Turner will turn 36 in November, but there's no signs of slowing with the bat.
Well, first, he's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. You see 0-2 right now. A lot of hitters, their chance of success, it goes into under 100 in the batting average, but not for Turner. He doesn't get carried away by getting 2 strikes on him.
He's got Seager at first with 1 gone, and an 0-2 from Clevenger. Turner takes it down and away, ball 1.
See, that's a great pitch. And most of the league is going to swing and miss on that pitch. That's a great pitch. But to Justin Turner, he's just confident, gets that leg. That leg sometimes goes higher. It's a timing mechanism for him. So if you're trying to figure out at home, why is he lifting his leg? That's what works for him. It keeps his hands back.
On this 1-2, he chases a similar pitch. Clevenger gets him for the 2nd out.
Nasty. He doubled it up, and he sweeped this one a little bit more. You can make a slider into 3 different pitches based on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to carve up the plate. If you think about a plate like a box, you go diagonal is the best way to create the angle of swing and misses. If it's spinning more east to west, you're in trouble. So he wants to create that diagonal and split that box, make it tough on the Dodgers hitters.
But the Dodgers as a team seen Mike Clevenger for the first time, but the guy at the plate now, Max Muncy, is one of the 2 hitters that has seen him when he was with the Indians. They were both much different players at that point. It was late in 2016. Clevenger had just made his major league debut, and Muncy was still a light hitting utility man for the A's. That one kicks away. Seager hangs on. And it's 1-0. Both guys have climbed the ladder in terms of their stature in the majors. Clevenger, one of the top ERAs in baseball since he became an everyday big leaguer, a full-time member of the rotation. Muncy, since coming to the Dodgers, one of the top hitters in the National League 2018 and 19, although he's really struggled in 2020. Padres as aggressive as anybody in the way they shift and how deep they put their 3rd baseman Machado out there. If
you're fans of the Padres, you're excited that he's back on the mound. When they went and got Clevenger, that was a sign to the ball club that not only do they feel they have a chance back then to make the playoffs, they can make a deep run. Unfortunately, injuries to their stud starter lament doesn't help.
This one gets away far enough for Seager to move into scoring position.
But the reason this game is so important for the Padres, if they can get any kind of length and production out of Clevenger, it lessens the load of what they're going to have to do to beat the Dodgers. They came off a 3-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals where they used a ton of pitchers. And to move forward, 5 straight days here, 7 straight days in the next series, it's going to be essential that their starters can get through the lineup at least twice, because the Dodgers have the ability to lengthen through their starting staff if it goes long.
3-0 on Muncy. Seager second, 2 gone. Clevenger comes home. Muncy watches ball 4, the second walk of his first inning. Defense around Mike Clevenger tonight. In the outfield, it's Profar, Grisham, and Myers. Left side of the infield is as good as any in baseball, probably the best. Machado at third, Tatis at short, Cronenworth at second base, Hosmer, 4-time Gold Glover at first, and Austin Nola, who the Padres acquired at the deadline from Seattle. Umpiring crew, Lance Barrett calls balls and strikes here in Game 1. The crew chief is Bill Miller. This is one of the most pitcher-friendly umpiring staffs you'll find. 2 on, 2 out. The hitter is Will Smith. The Dodgers' second-year catcher takes ball 1, not close from Clevenger. Smith had a nice debut last season at 15 home runs in 53 games, but I don't know if anybody saw this season coming. He's turned into the most productive catcher in the National League, and regardless of position, stacks up pretty favorably in the top 10 or 15 hitters in the league overall. 1-0. 1-1.
Unique batting stance, similar to some of the old-time players where the hands are high, but then right when he's getting ready to hit, he'll bring his hands into position to let it go, right? It's not where they start, it's where they end up. And the timing for not only every hitter, it varies on what they're trying to do. But those hands high, I think, is a big reason why he does so well on elevated fastballs,
which is a weakness in a lot of hitters these days. Right. Ball 2. Well, you don't know how much Clevenger's going to have in the tank tonight. They're obviously happy that they get him, but you don't figure he's a 7-8 inning guy even if he was rolling. He's already had to throw 21 pitches in this first inning. Home of the 2-1. Will Smith pulls a liner to short, and Tatis is there to end the inning. First time that Clevenger's issued multiple walks in a game as a Padre, but he's able to strand them, and after 1, no score. Sponsored by Hankook Tires, never halfway. Back here in Texas, where Tommy Pham leads off against Walker Buehler. Takes strike 1. Well, they've not gotten the production in terms of numbers that they hoped they would get from Pham as far as on-base percentage and even games played, but they feel like they've really benefited from the attitude and the edge that he's brought.
Yeah, well, the attitude, the edge, the excitement, the party-type atmosphere in the dugout, all good things. When you don't have the crowd, you don't have the adrenaline, you got to create it. And talking to the Padres manager, he's got one of the more electrifying dugouts, if you will, and that's a good thing because I can't imagine what this has been like. They've all adjusted to the season without fans, but the postseason is so much different, and there's so much more adrenaline naturally at this time of the year. And unfortunately, you got to create it yourself. You've got to pull for each other, and you've got to do it in a way where you come to the park with a purpose. And the Padres have been doing that ever since the shutdown and the 2.0, spring training 2.0, and they realized, hey, we got a really good ball club and a great chance to go deep.
Full count on Pham.
And the danger in that is because you want to hear like the Dodgers and their success, you want to be a little bit businesslike, but you want to be dedicated to every issue of the game.
It's a leadoff walk for Pham.
And it's easy to drift a little bit. And I think even Dave Roberts reminded his team, hey, a little small meeting here, players talking about taking every thought to the batter's box, on the mound. I mean, pay attention and get back in it, right? Because it seems weird. You win a series, 3 days off, you come here, you're not at home. It's really what's going to make this the most, I think, talked about postseason ever.
Leadoff man aboard. Here's Will Myers. Takes very high for ball one. The Padres so energetic, play with such emotion. You can tell that they're having fun. They took a game from the Dodgers on September 14th. They came from behind, beat Clayton Kershaw. First time in years they'd beaten Kershaw. And the Dodgers have said since then that loss and seeing the Padres enjoy themselves the way that they did inspired them. So the Dodgers had a small team meeting and said, look, we got to generate our own energy a little bit, because right now they're doing a whole lot better than we are, and they're kicking our tails because of it.
And that's my point. When you know you've got a great team, you'd like to act in business-like attitude because you know it's a long season. Well, this is not the case. It's a shorter season. Ton of pressure on the Dodgers coming into this, and how they handle it will be essential for their long run. It'd be easier to say, and I hate this phrase. I'm just going to say I hate it.
You couched it. It's fine.
I couched it.
Yeah.
You got nothing to lose if you're the Padres.
But relative to the Dodgers, it's true.
It is true, but you can't play. You can't let that be the only focus you have. You got to be aggressive, be reckless, and take advantage. Put as much pressure as you can on the Dodgers to make that statement on their side more true than the statement on your side, if that makes sense. And that's why I kind of hate that phrase. There's two phrases, that and, well, our backs are against the wall, and like
you're not a big cliche guy, huh, John?
Gosh, come on.
That's good.
We're down to elimination, so we got nothing. No.
Backs are against the wall.
You got a lot of pressure on you, and you have no room for error.
Do or die. What else? There's a lot of great sports cliches out there. One game at a time. John.
Yeah, one game at a time.
Pham a good lead at first as Buehler checks on. A pretty close play.
I think the other interesting thing, and you have to answer it if you're managers, but I'm intrigued with how many scenarios have played out strategically in this 5-game series, right? One thing leads to another. And each manager saying, well, I'm not worried about tomorrow. Yes, you are. You just don't want to tell us you're not worried about tomorrow, because there are so many things that come into play, right?
They're going to challenge this. Really close.
Here we go.
Let's say too close to overturn.
Walker Buehler has thrown over there a bunch. A couple base runners the Padres have had so far. Tatis in the first, Pham here in the second. Splitting hairs.
Just because of the call.
Yeah.
And you can say splitting hairs. I can't.
No, I mean, you can say it, you just can't do it.
I just can't do it. Why say it if you can't do it?
Very quick one. And they do stick with the call. Pham is safe. So a 2-2 count on Will Myers. And with all the attention that Tatis and Machado have gotten this season, it's Will Myers that is actually leading the team in on-base plus slugging. Put together the year the Padres have been waiting for from him. He chases one in the dirt here. He strike three in the first out of the second. Well, 1 in 5 kids in the U.S. may not be able to afford to play next season. Text Little League to 313131, and T-Mobile will donate $1 to their Little League call up grant program so our kids can keep playing ball. Buehler's second strikeout, one gone in the second, and here's Jake Cronenworth. who went from a footnote in the Tommy Pham trade coming from Tampa Bay to barely on the radar in spring training to the fringes of the roster to a utility guy on opening day. And now here we are, John, and he's a candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he's having a great year and certainly a big talent. And you look at the ranks that he has on the season. Here's a guy who's not afraid to hit a fastball 95 or above. So Walker Buehler is going to have to be careful with his fastball in the zone. Likes the ball inside, does Jake. And cutter inside, though, would be kind of the equalizer. If you're a good inside the ball hitter, the cutter will take you off that game plan.
This is away, 2-0. Got his first chance at first base, which is a position he barely played. That was when Hosmer went on the injured list with a stomach issue in early August. Well, Hosmer comes back, but Cronenworth had done nothing but hit in his couple weeks in the spot. So they said, we got to find a place for him to play. Profar had been struggling at second. So they put Cronenworth at second. Eventually, Profar moved to left. But Cronenworth's not looked back since taking that second base position over. Big lead at first. Not running on ball 3.
Well, will the rookie have the green light 3-0 against Buehler? I'm going to say, yeah, he's a good fastball hitter. Why not?
There goes Pham on a strike. Here's the throw. And the second stolen base of the night already for the Padres.
Because of the shift, there's a little pandemonium there. Tony Pham didn't come up right away. There's nobody over at third, but that's where you can catch a pitcher falling asleep on a 3-0 count or a 2-0 count, sorry. Took advantage, now in scoring position, and now two things that Jake will want to do besides getting a hit. Make sure he gets him over and just put as much pressure you can on the Dodgers. It was a 3-0 count.
Yeah, you're right.
Fell asleep, 3-0 count. Pitcher doesn't think a runner's ever going to go. More concerned with the hitter.
Now 3-1. Cronenworth watches ball 4, and they're at first and second with one away. Both pitchers struggling a little bit with command in the early innings. Buehler's second walk of this inning. Already 36 pitches thrown. Here's the 8-hitter Austin Nola. Padres acquired him from Seattle at the deadline, and while the numbers are not great, they just can't stop talking about this guy around there.
Yeah, he's been really good, and obviously like to get him going here in the postseason. He's the opposite of Jake. Struggles with 95 and above, but handles sliders and breaking balls. So let's see how Walker Buehler attacks him here.
Pham at second and Cronenworth at first. There's ball 1, and here's Kenny Rosenthal.
Guys, we already are seeing the biggest difference in the Padres this season, and it's plate discipline. This is a team that ranked last in the majors in on-base percentage from 2014 to 18, moved all the way up to 26th last year, but this year, following the additions of Pham and Cronenworth and Grisham, they ranked 8th. They're working counts. They are much more disciplined than in the past.
They got those additions, Ken, and then upticks from the guys that were already there. Machado, Myers, Hosmer, all with on-base percentages that have improved. A free swinging bunch to much more tough outs. That's down and away, and it's 2-0. They have the lowest swing percentage in baseball, but when they do swing, they make contact at as high a rate as anybody. Here's the 2-0. Caught the corner, 2-1.
I think that Buehler would like to live up there with Austin. He's been just missing down below, and when he can hit the lower part of the strike zone, that brings in that tight slider. The high fastball brings in the curveball.
Just low. Lance Baird, who's normally a very pitcher-friendly umpire. A couple borderline pitches have gone the way of the hitter here. Profar waits on deck with men at first and second and one gone. Here's a 3-1, and it's fouled off 3-2. Back to the heater.
Just easy 99. That is just.
He's not even trying it. Woof.
When he had one bad game in the postseason, that was against the Braves when he lost command. Gave up 5 earned runs. He's been awesome since. A little bit of command just off a little bit here in this early part of this game.
Here's a 3-2. And he's walked the third hitter of the inning to load the bases. That is the first time this season that the Dodgers have issued 3 walks in 1 inning. And here comes the pitching coach, Mark Pryor. Well, bases loaded for the Padres, and as Padres fans know, they are really good in these situations. Two of those 7 grand slams came in this building. They had 7 total this year, including at that point 1 in 4 straight games and in 5 of 6.
It really is amazing how contagious that was. Just to get that many times to have the bases loaded and then deliver. Well, now they've got a chance here to deliver and get on top. You can see the dugouts waiting to explode. Buehler's got to stay back just a little bit. Looks like he's rushing to get the fastball in the strike zone and pulling it down just a hair. Try and stay back. Maybe that's what they were telling him.
Delivers strike 1 to the 9-hitter Jurickson Profar. Profar is having a career year as well. Now, this guy was Fernando Tatis Jr. before Fernando Tatis Jr. The next big thing, the #1 prospect in all of baseball. Debuted when he was 19 for the Texas Rangers, but then injured his shoulder. Missed 2 full years. He's been battling for playing time since, going from Texas to Oakland. Now in his first year with San Diego. Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Hardest thing to do sometimes is that in-game adjustment, especially under the circumstances of postseason as a pitcher. It's much easier when everything's clicking and you stay back and let the ball do the work, but been rushing on the front side, just getting a little too far ahead of it is Buehler.
And now behind 2-1 with a couple of very wide misses.
Yeah, and that's just, again, it could be a combination, a little bit of rust in the blister. And when you have those, you're kind of shelving some of your pitches, hoping to get by, so you don't have to go to the one pitch that might affect it the most or get it hot. The blister can't get hot. Finger gets hot, you're in trouble.
2-1. Profar swings and misses 2-2. Tied him up with 99.
You have all your weapons. This is a great pitch. Ties him up. You have all your weapons. The pitch that Profar would struggle with would be the curveball right here.
The curveball is what has felt most comfortable for Buehler as that blisters develop. He sticks with a fastball and strikes him out. Big strikeout for Walker Buehler. 2 gone here in the second.
Tied him up inside. They set up inside and just at the belt. See Profar trying to pull his hands in as quick as he could, but good luck on 98.
Buehler gets his third K. Now back to the top of the order, and Trent Grisham, who homered against Buehler earlier this season. Huge moment early in this game, early in this series. First one from Buehler. Breaks inside, ball one.
So that's his money pitch right there. And he threw that pitch because you feel like that they're going to try to jump your fastball, right? So you're trying to throw a swing and miss pitch that you hope will catch a part of the plate if he takes it. But that one was nowhere near to entice the hitter to swing.
And Grisham is a guy that does not chase. He's helped lead the way with that change in approach Ken Rosenthal was talking about. 23-year-old that they acquired this winter from Milwaukee. He's had a big part in changing the personality of their offense.
Problem with the bases loaded in scouting reports. I mean, they want to pound him in. That's how you get him out. But he's missed in, and now at some point he's going to have to come out, you know, over the plate a little bit, or run the risk of falling behind 3-0 with nowhere to put something.
Well, the bases loaded at 2-0 is in the dirt, and it's 3-0 on Grisham with nowhere to put him. Buehler has walked the bases loaded and gone to 3-0 with Tatis Jr. due next. Dave Roberts having to pull that notebook out already. And you hear the pop of the glove. Blake Treinen already starting to warm. Strike one.
Well, it's hard. You gotta remind yourself that this is a home game for the Dodgers, right? Both teams are on the road. So in theory, right, you talk about a 5-game series and the road team's got to win a game on it.
Yeah.
But it's a neutral field, but it's still a home game for the Dodgers.
On a 3-1, Grisham watches a pinpoint strike two, and Buehler's battled back to the doorstep of getting out of this mess.
Now, this is paint. I mean, there's nothing you can do. 3-0, 3-1. You're going to sit in one area as a hitter and try to, when you see it, let it go. Now all the runners will be moving on the pitch. Base hit will score at least 2.
There they go. Here it comes. He struck him out, sticking with a fastball. They had the bases loaded with 1 out. Back-to-back strikeouts on high 90s cheese from Buehler. Profar and Grisham both striking out with the bases loaded, and the game stays scoreless as we go to the bottom of the second. Joe Davis, John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal, and the reigning MVP Cody Bellinger to lead off this second against Mike Clevenger. He misses upstairs with his first one. It's 1-0. Now, Bellinger has not had the same kind of season that he had last year. His OPS down 250 points, even with a pretty good finish.
There's going to be a lot of things about this year. It's going to be hard to judge. You know, with a shortened season, there's nothing to say that if the season went on another 2 months that Bellinger wouldn't catch fire. But the one thing you got to think about is he's got a chance in the postseason to do something different than he has in the previous postseasons.
Well, the first pitch to Bellinger looked like a 4-seam fastball. It was only 91. And then that one just kind of slipped out of his hand. And the training staff comes out with Chase Tingler. And they're going to take Mike Clevenger out of this game. So having thrown just 1 inning over the last 3 weeks, gave it a shot, but leaves the game after 1 inning and 2 pitches. It's the first pitch of the inning. And just didn't have close to the same velocity on it.
The one thing you worry about when you've got adrenaline, you've had time off, and your heart wants to pitch in this game so bad, your body sometimes tells you that there just isn't something right. And, you know, having a ton of experience, unfortunately, pitching in a lot of these games like this, it's difficult when you're not exactly where you want to be.
Need to be saved from yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
Pierce Johnson comes into the game as Chase Tingler is going to have to try and figure out how to get through this thing with much more from the bullpen than he anticipated. He gets Mike Clevenger to start, but Clevenger makes it just 1+. Johnson will get as much time as he needs to get ready. We'll take a break. Be back to Texas in a moment. NLDS presented by Doosan on FS1. No score in this game, but a huge turn of events as Mike Clevenger leaves the game after 2 pitches here in the 2nd inning with an apparent re-aggravation of the injury. Pierce Johnson comes on, and the Padres find themselves looking at another long night for the bullpen, which they had to do in all 3 games in the wild card round. Bullpen covered 22 2/3 of the 27 innings, so they know how to do this. The problem is, this is potentially 5 games in 5 days where they're going to have to.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a little bit of a roll of the dice, hoping that everything, they checked the box with Clevenger and he was able to provide them the innings needed, but it didn't work out. This bullpen is very capable. And we're going to find out how capable over the next 3 to 4 days. But I will say this, you know, if a pitcher finds himself in a situation where you think you could get through things, if you have a bone spur or a bone chip, sometimes they move, sometimes you can get through it with velocity. It's the secondary pitches that get you, but hopefully he's going to be fine. But the Padres now are going to their pen for the rest of the game.
Johnson comes in, and here it's a 2-0 count on Bellinger, who watches a fastball miss, quickly 3-0.
Johnson's an over-the-top delivery type guy, 96+ miles an hour on his fastball. He has great downward break on his curveball, and he's going to throw that pretty much the highest percentage, 54%.
He walks Bellinger, leadoff man aboard for the Dodgers, who went 43-17, the best record in baseball, best record in the league by 6 games over the Padres. First team since the 1909 Pirates to win more than 70% of their games in the National League. Run differential by far was the best in baseball. They led baseball in ERA. They led baseball in runs per game. They're the highest home run rate in Major League history, just shy of 2 home runs per game. And the pitching staff best in baseball as well.
No one's surprised about the Dodgers as far as this is a great team, and they were expected to do this. The gap's not that big between them and the Padres when you look at statistics, even the numbers we just showed right there. And how about this guy's power surge this year?
A.J. Pollock looks at ball 1. Yeah, he's a 162 game season. His home run pace, the 16 that he hit over 60, that's a 43 home run pace for a guy whose previous career high was 21.
Well, he stayed healthy, and that helped. Approach. He's one of those guys that seeks and hunts the fastball, and hunts, you know, when he's up there, he's wanting to swing, and he's controlled the strike zone, according to his manager.
Pops this one up. Cronenworth goes out. Myers comes on and puts it away. Pollock the first out. A bit of a surprise start here for Jock Peterson as the DH tonight, necessitated by Edwin Rios not being on the roster. Injured his groin fielding ground balls during workouts between the 2 series. And so Peterson, who is probably going to make the roster, but would have been more of a bench bat, gets the start as the DH here.
Well, he's never going to be an average guy based on the way that he goes about his hitting, but he can hit a fastball and he can hit for power, and that's what they're hoping they get out of him. He's had some huge hits in the postseasons, the last couple, and it just nothing seems to phase him. No matter if he's batting 150 or 250, he's up there doing one thing, hacking at fastballs.
Spinner on the first one. It's inside. Bellinger, a good secondary lead through the throw. Jock Peterson's 7 career postseason home runs. So even as he's had some moments through regular seasons where he's not been good, late in seasons where you say, how in the world can they carry him? The Dodgers think back to those moments of October past where it's hard to get it out of your mind.
Yeah, you know it is, and he's good against. He was going to face a high velocity pitcher one way or another, Clevenger and now Pierce Johnson. He has the most home runs against 95 or above fastballs since last season. So that just speaks to his approach. It could be neck high too. I mean, he gets after it.
Loves him up there.
It'll look funky at times.
Skip Schumacher, the bench coaches on the phone. See if I want to take a look at that over at first. Play on.
Close.
Somebody got some bad info.
Yeah. They got the right info just in time. 1-0 pitch. It's in there. 1-1. Jock Peterson, who started only 11 games in September, missed some time away from the team for a family emergency. Dave Roberts tried to get him as many at-bats as he could over the final week or so to get him ready. Got just one at-bat in the wild card round. Bellinger off first as the 1-1 comes home from Johnson. Peterson swings and misses, late in a fastball, 1-2. Jock Peterson fouls it off into the 1-2 again.
It's a good breaking ball, and he fouled off a pitcher's pitch. Johnson comes in here to a tough situation. Of course, as a reliever, you're always kind of ready, or mentally you're trying to tell yourself, but you never think something like that's going to happen. So he was given the warm-ups, and now he's in the heat of the action. I'm sure a little earlier than he thought.
He's now pitched in all 4 postseason games for the Padres this year. There were a lot of guys that pitched in all 3 in the wild card round. He had him leaning. Stretching back.
Sure, the Dodgers are going to start talking about the jump move. The right-hander's supposed to be able to step off and throw over. It's hard to do it. You know, there's really only one way to do it.
Peterson down on a high fastball, 2 away.
Fastball, you see the barrel of the bat underneath. When it's underneath, that velocity is just beating him to the punch.
18 hitters in this game. There have been 6 walks and 6 strikeouts. Here's a 9-hitter Chris Taylor, who's put up numbers very similar to his breakout 2017 season. He was such a key piece for the Dodgers' run to the World Series. Takes ball 1. Starting at second base tonight. That's a spot that Going into the year, a lot of people thought would eventually become Gavin Lux's this season. People thought may make a run at the Rookie of the Year. He just never got going. Kike Hernandez struggled there. So Taylor figures to get the bulk of the starts at second base here in October. Takes a strike, 1-1.
You gotta, if you're looking at this lineup, there's a few guys who cannot miss a ball middle into, and right here is one of them. You do not want to leave the ball the middle part of the plate. I mean, his swing is almost the same on every pitch, and so it's grooved for that inside inner third kind of pitch. If he stays on the outside part of the plate, it'll give him struggles.
That's where he went. Down and away, ball 2. .30-year-old in his 7th season. Buehler waiting out another long break here. Both pitchers have had long breaks. Bellinger at first with 2 gone. Johnson to Taylor with a 2-1 pitch after a look over there. Taylor has been one of the best hitters in the league with men on base this year. Takes up and in, and the count is 3-1.
Yeah, loves hitting in this exact situation, hitting over 400 when he's ahead in the count.
Trying to get things back around to bats with runners on here in the 2nd. No score in game 1 of the division series. Johnson to Taylor with a 3-1 pitch. That is lifted to center, sending Grisham back with plenty of room to finish off the 2nd. Fernando Tatis Jr. due to lead off for the Padres on the other side of this break in a 0-0 game. Fernando Tatis Jr. takes inside, ball 1 from Walker Buehler to open this 3rd inning, and we're joined by the manager of the Padres, Jace Tingler. Jace, what can you tell us about Mike Clevenger, and now what?
Well, we don't know much right now. He's getting checked out by the training team, medical staff, and he felt good, looked good the 1st inning. You know, his stuff was right where it usually is, from the fastball velo to the slider, the curveball, changeup, cutter. He had everything working, and I think what happened was just that long half inning there, and it tightened up and never warmed back up on him. So, you know, I think it was a good sign. You know, in the 1st, everything's there, and now the medical team checking him out, and you know, we got our fingers crossed and hoping for the best of news.
Hey, how great is it that the baseball world, the national audience, gets to watch this guy at the plate?
Well, I hope they get to see something special right about now.
Oh, that would have been something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's been great for us all year, and people remember, you know, maybe the home runs, but just overall what he's done defensively, the ground he covers, the base running, the energy he brings, and he does it with a smile, and people gravitate towards him. He's got you know, that it factor.
Waits on this 3-1 pitch. Oh, it's a strike, 3-2. And you know, so you lose Clevenger. I guess you guys are well schooled in trying to piece things together, but what can you tell us about what the blueprint is moving forward?
I'm not going to be telling you much about it, but those guys down there are prepared. We've been here before, and as soon as Clevenger comes out, they all know what's in place. So yeah, we're going to have to string it together. We got to get some runs, and hopefully the bullpen guys are going to be able to piece this together.
Jace, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So Tatis down on strikes. Buehler has his 5th K. One away here in the 3rd.
And Tatis not happy with the 3-1 pitch. It was off the plate for a ball, which brought the count back in, and then Buehler was able to take advantage of it with a strikeout. Buehler had a long wait, and he came out to the mound early trying to get his fastball command back, and kind of honed back in to bring in the other pitches.
So now he faces Machado in a 0-0 game in the third. Is that an extra big deal, those long waits, when you're dealing with something health-wise?
Well, it is, yeah, and not so much with his finger per se, with more of you've got tendonitis or anything that pitchers deal with from time to time. But the biggest thing is the timing. His mechanics seem to be a little bit off, and you want to get back out there. The only chance you have to work on it is to get out there in between innings and utilize all the time they give you and get out there as soon as you can. And I think it's the one area that veteran pitchers understand. If the curveball's not working, get out there and work on it.
They give you a lot of time these days between innings.
Yeah, and not everybody uses it for a lot of reasons, because you want to pace yourself. But both pitchers struggled with their command with a lot of extra velocity.
2-1 on Machado. That was interesting. Buehler is a guy who loves to tweak grips and try new things. But he says the issue right now is that all his bullpens and his side sessions, when he normally does that, when he normally does experimenting, he has the blister covered and he can't get real feedback. 2-2.
Yeah, you have to. And having gone through the same scenario, you get it covered just so you can exercise your arm, work, and deliver the ball. But you don't get the instant feedback that you want when you get, when you let go of a ball, the end of your fingers is telling you all that you need to know for your brain, right? It's telling you to spin. It's telling you whether it's a good pitch or not.
Machado reaches out, rolls it to Seager. 2 up, 2 down.
It's the one downside of being a pitcher, because it's not a very masculine injury. A lot of people are like, blister, but
your finger.
It's the most important part of throwing a pitch. You can't afford, most pitchers build up their calluses, and you can't have a cracked nail. You can't have anything go wrong with your digits. And so far, so good. He seems to have overpowered some of the lack of touch or command that he's had early on in this game.
It's a strikeout, Hosmer. Your finger hurts? Oh, yeah? Well, now your back's going to hurt. You just put landscaping through you. Buehler looking for his first clean inning. It's Dave Roberts talking with the hitting coaches of the Dodgers, still trying to figure their offense out. A 0-0 game in the third. Buehler quickly ahead of Hosmer, 0-2. Buehler needed 53 pitches to get through the first 2 innings. Here's his 14th of the third to finish off Hosmer. And a 1-2-3 inning, by far his cleanest tonight. No score to the bottom of the third, and Mookie Betts to lead things off for the Dodgers. Fly to right his first time. That was against Clevenger. This is Pierce Johnson staying out. Missing high, ball 1.
You could spend the rest of the game talking about Mookie Betts and what he is the last 3 years as a player. How about this? In the last 30 days of the regular season, he's missed 1.8% of pitches in the strike zone.
Normally you hear things like that, and that's like slap hitters, contact hitters that just put it in play. It's rare that you find a guy who has a contact rate like that and it's for power. I mean, he was third in the league in home runs, in addition to not swinging and missing at all in zone. Normally you sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah, that's just to the talent of his hands and his ability mechanically, right? I mean, guys are one-way swinging, and you get it. The quickest way to score a run today is a home run. That's why you're seeing an elevation of strikeouts, walks, and homers. He just doesn't miss if you throw it in that box. That is an incredible talent.
2-2. Player resume sponsored by Indeed. Mookie Betts, the leadoff man for the Dodgers. Dave Roberts tinkered a little bit early on. He had Betts hitting leadoff against left-handed pitchers, but hitting second against righties. Finally, he said, you know what? Mookie's just going to hit leadoff every game. First game that he does it was against San Diego. He hit 3 home runs and has not left the leadoff spot since. On a 2-2 from Johnson, he swings and misses at a fastball that was away for the first out. Looks like that is going to do it for Johnson. This is going to be a familiar walk for Jace Tingler tonight as he tries to piece things together after the early exit from Clevenger. is between the Padres and the Dodgers at 8:30 Eastern on FS1. In for his major league debut here in the postseason is Ryan Weathers, and he delivers strike one to Corey Seager. How about this? Go get him, kid. Welcome to the postseason.
Well, actually, it might be the best opportunity for him without the atmosphere of the crowd, right? I mean, that's the push and pull that we're going to figure out after the season's over. Who it affected, who it impacted, who it helped. Well, if you're making your major league debut in the postseason and you're in the visiting crowd, it's not. You may not be able to spit, like you may be dry mouth.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, and so big moment here for this young man and opportunity of a lifetime, maybe.
He was a 7th overall pick just 2 years ago out of Loretto High School in Tennessee. He's never pitched above A ball. 20-year-old, one of their top prospects, brings a 1-2 to Seager. Misses away, ball 2.
Yeah, go get one of the hottest hitters on the team, too. Go get him, kid. Fastballs, changeup, curveball has a little bit of a break between the slider and the curveball mixed together, sometimes known as a slurve.
Seager lashes one on a line to center for Grisham. He gets the first out of the big league career. That's got to be a big old deep breath. I'm a big leaguer. Gotten out. Settle in.
Yeah, there's no way to really describe how he's feeling because normally that happens in a regular season. You know, you can count on probably a short list of how many guys make their debut in the postseason.
He's the first guy to do it as far as pitchers go. Last night, the Rays had a guy named Shane McClanahan make his major league debut. Game 1 of that division series. 2020, man. Weird stuff. Here's Turner. 1-0. These are guys that, in both cases, there's no chance in a normal season. Not no chance, but probably we're not going to reach the majors this year.
Right.
But with no minor league season, a lot of teams brought some of their top prospects into the 60-player pool. They got to be around the team, or at least at the alternate site this season. And we're able to make impressions enough where we're seeing some unusual things, like debuts in postseason games, because he was able to make that impression instead of going home and having basically a lost season of development. Four-pitch walk to Turner. And a 2-out base runner for the Dodgers here in a 0-0 game. MLB app is the one place to get everything for your favorite team's chase to the pennant, including video highlights, pitch tracking, and much more. So download the MLB app today for the postseason in your pocket. Now Weathers to face the All-Star Max Muncy, who walked his first time. He's still looking for his first hit of this postseason, but he's gotten on base a few times with those walks.
Throw it out. Throw it out.
Against the left-handers, Max will stay on the ball better. And that's typically what you have to do, lefty on lefty. But no real hits up or inside off the plate. This is one of those guys that typically doesn't expand the zone.
That's the thing. I mean, the overall numbers are down, but the profile, the underlying numbers are very similar. Not chasing, not striking out. He's just not doing nearly as much when he does swing.
And we talked about it, you know, especially during the regular season. Everything's going to be magnified. Because it's a shorter season, if you get off to a slow start, that's magnified. You don't have the time, really. In a normal season, you'd have a month to get out of something, a week, a hot week. But it just seems like nothing really went well for Max in this season. But he had teammates to pick him up because that lineup is so deep.
Yeah, in a normal year, it's, oh, what a rough start for Max Muncy. Yeah. What a rough start for Cody Bellinger. Here's a 1-0. Muncy sends a fly ball to left field for Jurickson. Profile started on, no, goes back and puts it away. And welcome to the majors. Welcome to the postseason. Ryan Weathers, no score after 3. To the 4th inning, no score. Walker Buehler back to work against Tommy Pham. He delivers a first pitch strike, joined by the manager of the Dodgers, Dave Roberts. Now, Dave, keeping a close eye on Walker Buehler with the blister. What are you seeing with the blister? What are you seeing with him on the mound?
I thought that last inning was big to get back on track and kind of work through that delivery. Got a little, you know, just uncharacteristically, not wild, but just really couldn't command the fastball. The blister's fine. I think that, you know, you've got 69 pitches in 3+ innings, so we're going to keep an eye on him with the blister, the workload. It's been some stress right there, so I think this will probably be it for him at this inning. Short outing for Mike Clevenger, but a unique challenge, I would imagine, facing a bunch of different guys coming out of that Padres bullpen. Yeah, you know what, you just don't know. You saw the velocity tick down big time in that first fastball. It ended up being 90 against Bellinger, and so you never want to see that happen, and obviously now it's going to be kind of all hands on deck. So we'll see, but our hitting guys got everyone prepared. Dave, thank you. All right, thanks, guys. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Pham. Buehler looking to settle in as this game rolls on. Misses upstairs. Count goes full. There have been a lot of full counts over the first 3+ innings, and he's already at 72 pitches.
Yeah, his stuff has gotten him out of some jams that most pitchers wouldn't have got out of, but he's definitely fighting with his mechanics, and I'm sure after the game he'll talk about maybe not being comfortable.
Strikes him out looking. Even with him not comfortable and a little bit all over the place, he's got 7 Ks through 3 1/3.
You know, sometimes we have, you know, we're taught this kind of theory, go strike one, to make these things work. And there is a rare occasion where you can be so effectively wild that you keep the hitter on his toes. He doesn't know what's coming, and you just make one quality pitch in that at bat, and you can get out of it. It's what he did with the bases loaded. There was no signs he was going to get out of that jam. 3-0 count with the bases loaded. But that's when he's right. It's smooth, easy, fluid. And when a pitcher has something that he's altering or he can't feel, then your body naturally tries to rush, and that's not a good thing for a pitcher.
Gets ahead of Myers 0-2. Seems like it's flowing now.
It's the same thing for a hitter too, right? If you don't feel comfortable and trust your hands, you generate more with your body. That's not what you want. Basic baseball, if you trust your mechanics and you're in that zone, it's going to be a fun night for you personally. But you never know what tension's going to do in a situation like a playoff game or when you're a little uncomfortable.
Back to the fastball, fouled off. How soon on a night where you're uncomfortable do you typically know that you're uncomfortable? Does it just hit you, or do you feel it when you're warming up?
Well, the rarity and the uncertainty of bullpens don't guarantee a lot, right? You have a good bullpen. Sometimes you come in a game and you can't find a plate, or you don't. And it can work both ways. It's when you get into the game is the only way you're going to ever know and get the feel. And that's why you can make those in-game adjustments in between innings if you're afforded the opportunity to stay in there. But he avoided obviously the biggest inning when he lost command of his fastball on the glove side, which is into a left-hander, and then made 2 tremendous pitches to get out of a jam that kept him in the game and kept his team in the game.
Way up there, ball 1 on Myers. Kept his team in the game, and so important in this 5-game series, potentially 5 games in 5 days, that you get as much length out of your starters as possible. Fires a 1-2. Spins one down and away. Myers takes it, and the count evens up.
It's a good take. He's a guy who struggles, as I talked about, with breaking balls, the curveball. If you spin anything close to the strike zone, he's going to struggle. At least that's what the stats say.
On a 2-2, he takes another one. And now this is a guy who struck out as much as anybody the last few seasons. One of the big changes is that he's not doing that nearly as much. Right about league average this season. He says the biggest key for him, while he made some tweaks to his swing, the biggest thing was just simplifying, trusting himself, trusting his mechanics, hitting like he's a kid again. On a 3-2, A fastball misses by an eyelash and a 1-out walk from Myers. Buehler not happy with his zone from Lance Barrett. That's the 4th Buehler walk already.
Well, any pitcher who struggles with his command can't get the close pitches if you're been all over the place. You've got to put pressure on everybody, including the hitter and the umpire, by just barely missing enough that you'll get those calls. But if you're all over the quadrants, you're not going to get the real tight. Typically, you don't get the real tight pitch that could go either way.
A 1-out base runner. And Jake Cronenworth comes up. His 4 walks matching a career high for Walker Buehler. Issued one of them to Cronenworth his first time up there. Strike 1. Strike 2. Walker Buehler, first-round pick in 2015. It was Andrew Friedman's first-round selection. Taking over the Dodgers. Buehler now in his 4th year with Major League time. Really, though, just his 2nd year as a full-time big leaguer. He's an all-star last year in his first chance. Home with an 0-2. Cronenworth takes ball 1. Very quickly has become a guy that the Dodgers trust in the biggest games. 1.27 ERA over his last 5 postseason games. As the night is getting close to the end, Victor Gonzalez warning. His 1-2 pitch. On the corner to get Cronenworth looking. His 8th strikeout.
Well, like I said, when he's had to make the pitch that's unhittable, he's been able to do that in circumstances that the hitter's going to go back. And if they were allowed to watch video and see where that pitch was, they'd go, nothing I could do with that. Yeah. The Padres have had their chances, of course, with more traffic on the bases than you would think against Walker Buehler, and he's just overpowered them with his stuff so far.
Here's Nola. Strike 1 in a generous corner. Yeah, you look back at that 2nd inning, they loaded the bases on 3 walks. And then had Profar ahead in the count, but he bullied him with fastballs. Did the same to Trent Grisham. Back-to-back Ks to get out of that inning. Riding the high 90s fastball the whole way. There goes the runner from first. The throw from Smith, not in time. And the Padres 3 for 3, stealing bases tonight.
Well, that's what they need to do, and they can do it. It may be hard to string 3 hits in a row against Buehler, but all you're going to need when he gives you a base is 1. If you can get in scoring position, they've had a couple of those now.
Oh, and 2 on Nola. Buehler comes home. That is a line drive to left center field, base hit, and Nola delivers with 2 outs to give the Padres the game's first run. Austin Nola drives home Will Myers, and they promptly take advantage of a stolen base to lead at 1-0.
That's the Padres' way, and their belief in their offense, like I said, is statistically just a little bit behind the Dodgers, but they believe they're capable of going blow for blow with anybody. And by getting that stolen base, right, what we talked about, a big 2-out hit by Nola.
They get it from a guy who has not done a whole lot offensively since the Padres acquired him at the deadline. That's ball 1 on Profar. Comes through here to give the Padres the first run of the night.
The hardest part in this kind of series playoff, in this playoff format, is how patient the Dodgers are going to have to be, right? Because right now it's chaos. It's going to be a different reliever every inning. And of course the Padres want to steal one of these next 2 games. They got to find a way because of what's unknown in the rest of this series. But if you're the Dodgers, you just stay patient. That's what they've done all year. they've come back in some games that you go, come on. And they've done it. So that'll be the test for Dave Roberts in this series. Of course, that man right there will help your bullpen if you have to go to it tonight.
That's Kershaw tomorrow. Padres have not announced a Game 2 starter. A lot of that was going to have to do with how tonight went.
First-year manager. Go get him in 2020.
Yeah,
good
right.
luck. He's done a great job with so many unknown things as a first-year manager.
I guess the good thing is this is probably going to be the most difficult season you ever have to manage, given all the circumstances.
Yeah, until the expectations start coming that you're supposed to win every year.
That's a different wrinkle for sure. He would welcome those expectations. His expectations growing with the arrival of that man. Nola's at first with 2 gone. A 3-1 to Profar is chopped along first and foul.
Well, before this year started, a lot of people in our industry loved the Padres and the Reds. Both made the playoffs. The Reds, of course, couldn't score a run. And the Padres were able to beat the Cardinals. But the reason they liked the Padres, not only was their talent something that everybody talked about, but they made the right moves to shore up some things that were going to help them move forward. Veteran pitcher, unfortunately, some injuries have taken back some of the strength they had. Now they're going to have to piecemeal it together.
Runner takes off on a 3-2 and it's fouled back. I mean, it was something to see what A.J. Preller did there going up to the deadline. 5 trades over the final 2 days before the deadline. Acquired 10 players and, like you said, addressed some very specific needs. Completely overhauled the catching position. Brought in Castro along with Nola. Got Clevenger. Had several bullpen pieces. Mitch Moreland, who was especially important when Eric Hosmer broke his finger in early September. Going for it. Energized by what they had done over the first month. Profar hits a ground ball to Chris Taylor. And that'll do it for the Padres in the 4th. Will Myers walks. One of the 4 issued by Walker Buehler tonight. He steals second base. It is the 3rd stolen base of the night for the Padres. This one leads to something tangible as Austin Nola comes through with an RBI single to left, and it's 1-0 San Diego. Will Smith leads off his 4th for the Dodgers. Takes ball 1 from Ryan Weathers. Padres getting the first run of the game here in the top of the 4th inning. Dodgers still looking for their first hit. That's a strike and it's 1-1.
Well, I'm sure they've game planned and watched video of as many pitchers as they can, but to see them for the first time, which again we talked about early on, the more they can see the Dodgers, the better you feel their success is going to be as the series plays on. Now, at this point, the Padres don't care how many pitchers it takes as long as they have the success they're having currently and keep this high-powered offense from scoring any runs.
Buzzes Smith inside, and the count evens 2-2. Talking about Weathers. One of the top prospects in the organization, a former 1st-round draft pick, 2018, out of high school in Tennessee. Now goes full on Smith. Check out these numbers. A 0.09 ERA. 148 Ks in 76 innings as a senior. What happened to the other 70 hitters he faced? 70 outs he had to get. Put it in play. Count on Smith.
0.09.
Oh yeah. Mowing him down in Tennessee. He has walked Smith to open this 4th. For more on the rookie making his debut here in the postseason, here's Ken.
Well, Joe, Ryan Weathers not only the 3rd player to make his major league debut this postseason, joining Alex Kirilloff for the Twins, and you mentioned Shane McClanahan of the Rays. He also is the son of former Major League reliever David Weathers. And David and Ryan's mom, Kelly, flew in today after Ryan was added to the roster to be here. Now, they are up in a higher section of the stands. You can see down the left field line, the family members of the Padres who are in the bubble, they are in one section. Other family members that are not in the bubble, they sit in a higher section. That's where David Weathers is. He pitched 19 years in the majors, and he's watching his son make his debut tonight.
And did he ever stress on one of his own outings the way he's stressing on this one? Bellinger with a man at first and nobody out. Oh! Generous strike. 0-1.
Very generous.
Bellinger saying, I'm the MVP, and he's been here for like 10 minutes.
If he could say that, I'm sure he would.
Weathers, those ridiculous numbers as a pitcher in high school. He also won a basketball state championship and dropped 25 in the championship game. Oh! 0-2 on Bellinger.
Bellinger's held his own against left-handers in his career. I mean, the power number is obviously going to go down. You don't face as many left-handers. But this arm angle creates a kind of a tough angle for Bellinger and his style of hitting. And that's where everybody's been trying to go. You know, in this game, even if you're coming off a monster year like last year, people are going to make certain changes. And they're collectively all going to attack you the same way, and it's up to you to make a certain adjustment. And up until this point, there really hasn't been many adjustments. You figure time will even out, but he hasn't moved off the plate at all. But yet they keep jamming him into that area. And sometimes if you just make that subtle adjustment, it might get them off of what they're trying to do and be successful against you.
When you compare it to where he was when he showed up in summer camp after the quarantine, it has evolved some. He's a touch back, but still, he's as tight to the plate as anybody you're going to find.
Right. And I'm sure for the most part, if a hitter says, okay, I'll tip my hat if you can do that 3 times. Okay, I get that theory. But if the power and the velocity is tying you up upstairs and you're not able to get to it, you're just inviting more people to do that. And again, unfair this year, but when you have a monster year like he did, the first thing people are going to say is, hey, wait a minute, it's only been 60 games. You had another typical 100 games to go to be able to change people's minds. So fair or not, this year has created an exaggeration, and I think clubs are going to have a hard time, in my opinion, in the offseason evaluating what this year was or isn't, and what they do from a free agent or moves or their own players. And I think that's going to be an interesting process, because even the analytics going into this year had to change. You couldn't use last year's data. There was going to be too much unknown.
Bellinger down swinging as he went up and in with a fastball, as you talked about so many people doing against Bellinger. How about Ryan Weathers striking out getting his first strikeout, and it's the reigning MVP of the National League.
I mean, typically they would throw this ball to the dugout, but in the postseason, I guess.
I think he did.
Did he?
Oh, yeah. Put a sticker on it.
Good for him. Put a sticker on it. They put something else on my first strikeout. I can't really say what they put on it when the writing of the baseball, but.
Did they put something raunchy on there?
Yeah, it was a fake ball.
Oh,
it wasn't a real ball.
What a great joke. This young man's got it. Got a death grip on it. Third first one gone. Padres ahead of the Dodgers 1-0 as A.J. Pollock swings and misses at 96. You know, Weathers last season, which was his first full pro year, really wore down in terms of the velocity to the point where it went from mid-90s down to, in some starts, high 80s. But built it back up in the offseason during the quarantine, and we've seen him touch high 90s coming out of the bullpen here in his big league debut.
So the oddity of our game that we've evolved is so many sons of former baseball players, right? Weathers got a chance to watch his son strike out his former teammate's son.
Wow, you're right.
I can't take credit for that. That's compliments of Harold Reynolds, who let me know that. But that's pretty wild when you start thinking about.
That would be Clay Bellinger. Played parts of 4 seasons in the majors. Utility man with the Yankees. Fouled hard off Nola, and it's 1-2. Oh yeah, your first strikeout with a wonderful stash.
Yeah,
how about that? Sit down, Darryl.
That was before I went over my head with the delivery, but I'll never forget that. And I guarantee you, Mr. Weathers will never forget his magnified times 100 because it was in the postseason.
But for both you guys, against a guy who had to be wide-eyed.
Oh yeah. Funny, I can tell you the first, I can't tell you the last.
You can't?
No.
2-2. You pitchers, though, you got weird memories where you can tell me some very specific things in between those two.
It's kind of like I can remember every shot of every golf hole I played, but I can't remember. Like, I wish I could have learned the way I remember action that I partake in, right? So there are things that you're just so in tune with. But then there's times in the game where I'd have to go to the catcher and go, what did we do to him in the first inning?
Polly gets under it, way up there into the open roof. Tatis, 2 out. Well, we've never done October like this before. That means anything can happen. MLB has you covered on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dave Roberts going to his bench for the first time as Kike Hernandez is announced as a pinch hitter for Jock Peterson, and that is going to end this big league debut for Ryan Weathers. Now, what a story this kid's going to have to tell. As a 20-year-old, he makes his major league debut in Game 1 of the Division Series. Gets his first big league strikeout of the MVP Cody Bellinger. And gets a load of encouragement from his teammates and his manager. As the beat goes on, the bullpen keeps on working with a proud dad in attendance. For Ryan Weathers with his Padres in front 1-0. Fourth pitcher of the game for the Padres is Austin Adams. Now to face a pinch hitting Kike Hernandez, who gets hit by the first pitch.
Wow, that couldn't have felt good. I was getting ready to say he slings it from a low 3/4, and he slung it all right. Unfortunately, right in the back.
Dodgers now have 6 base runners in this game. No hits. 5 walks and a hit batsman. Missed the pad, didn't it? Always does. Couldn't have hurt that much. Hernandez smiling.
He took it like a champ, I got to tell you that.
So the Dodgers with an opportunity with 2 gone here in the 4th inning. After the Padres got the first run of the night in the top of this inning. It's the 9-hitter Chris Taylor who drove in 23 runs in the month of September. 2 on, 2 out. Adams comes home and Taylor tries to lay off and does. Ball 1. You've got Betts, you've got Seager, reigning MVP Bellinger, but if you ask Dave Roberts, he would point to Chris Taylor right up there with those guys as one of the MVPs of this team. Steady he's been at the plate, how versatile he is in the field. Production right on par with what he was doing in 2017 in that pennant run.
Yeah, and that's the swing you're going to see no matter where it is. That's the kind of swing he's retooled to lift the ball in the air. This was a pretty good swing on a slider that you're going to see about 84% of the time out of the Padres pitcher. But if he leaves that in the middle in, then he's not getting that ball back. And the Dodgers will be up.
Swing and a miss on another slider, 1-2.
This year, league-wide, is the lowest percentage of fastballs thrown. Everyone's trying to get to the spin factor and the launch angle of everybody at the plate. You spin it to win it, I guess, is the slogan.
And the Dodgers see fewer fastballs than anybody in a year where the league is seeing, as you said, fewer than ever. 2 on, 2 out, and a 1-2 from Adams. Try to get him to chase. He laid off, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, it's a lot different, the philosophies today. I mean, you could see a guy throw 8 straight sliders to a hitter. And years back, that was a no-no. You just giving them too many chances to see the same pitch, and their swings were different then. So it was something that you had to alter and change. Well, if the swing doesn't deviate, and you know the guy's only swinging one way, then maybe you get away with it and continually throw the same pitch over and over again.
Yeah, if that slider is his weakness, you keep going then. Here's a 2-2 that Taylor is able to lay off of to run the count full. The tying run in scoring position. The go-ahead run at first and 2 gone in the 4th. Top of the order, Mookie Betts after Taylor.
What you do as a hitter when you're seeing a guy with a high percentage of sliders, if it starts away, if you can tell yourself to stay off of it because it's going to break away, you're trying to look for an area where it starts, anticipate where that break is, and then barrel that ball up.
There they go. Here it comes, down and away from ball 4 to load him up. The 6th Dodger walk over the first 3 2/3. And here comes Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach. And now a quick word from Roman Health.
Get up to $50 off at GetRoman.com/TV. Roman, proud partner of Major League Baseball.
This walkathon now finds Austin Adams having to face Mookie Betts with the bases loaded in a 1-run game.
Yeah, that's not what he had in mind. That's why the previous batter was so important. But Larry Rothschild is just going to try to remember, or tell him to remember something mechanically to get him locked in with that slider. Now, the slider to Betts is not a great option. You'd rather have a curveball to Betts. You'd rather have north-south versus east-west because he stays on the barrel of the plate. The barrel of his bat stays through the plate longer. That's why he's so gifted with power, gap to gap. And so this will be a state the obvious, very tough matchup for Austin.
3-batter minimum means he has to face Mookie Betts, even if there are better options down in that bullpen. Spins one in there, strike 1. This is his 3rd hitter. Came on for Kike Hernandez, hit him. He walks Taylor. And now strike 1 on Betts. And an 0-1 Betts.
Hey, Dad.
Can't lay off. Quickly 0-2.
That's the nastiest slider he's thrown so far. With others, he's kind of pulled. And when you pull a slider, it doesn't have the effect right there that you would see because the natural break is late. You want to starting off and try to walk the dog away. Keep going further away if you can here on 0-2.
Betts digs it out, sends it in the air to left. Profar inching back. In the edge of the warning track, he's got it. And the Padres continue to piece it together. Dodgers load the bases, but Adams gets out of it. That's MLB The Show 20, available on PlayStation 4 console, rated everyone. Dustin May replaces Walker Buehler as this game moves along to the 5th with the Padres in front 1-0. 23-year-old that figures to garner some Rookie of the Year votes. There's an option to start a game in this series as he delivers strike 1 to Trent Grisham, and still may be. We'll see how long he goes tonight. Dave Roberts said Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Julio Urias, while they're all options to start later in the series, we're all options to follow Walker Buehler tonight. That is up the middle. Seager's got it. And Grisham is out number 1.
Yeah, if you get a clean inning out of him, maybe it's just like a modified bullpen and he can start a game. It all depends on what Dave Roberts wants to utilize. The man with the most famous hair of all the guys with hair, like flowing, I think he's the nastiest. I mean, Clevenger's nasty. He's got flowing hair. There's a lot of guys.
How about this hair matchup? Him and Tatis.
There you go. But on the mound, I'm going to go with him.
Well, he's got the red color going to it. How long before he strikes some kind of sweet endorsement deal for it? Strike one on Tatis. Out of nearby Justin, Texas, just outside of Fort Worth, very small town. He didn't get a ton of attention as a high schooler until the summer before his senior year. Travel ball circuit, velocity jumped way up, and so did the attention. He goes from begging to get interest from Division I programs to being a first-round draft pick in the span of about a year. There's 1-1 to Tatis. Strike 1-2.
Everybody has a development at different ages. It saddens me that 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds are trying to throw the ball as hard as they can. They're not ready for it. I mean, my miles per hour picked up when I gained about 20 pounds. I just couldn't gain a pound back in high school. So you never know the development of when that velocity will come.
How'd you put the weight on?
It just finally happened. I started eating. It's funny. First year in pro ball, I signed late. I go to instruction league. Bruce Fields, who's from Lansing, Michigan, played for the Tigers. And his wife took me in. Tremendous cook. Huge. One instructional leave. I gained 20 pounds. Who knew?
We all do now. What? How about that? What were the dishes?
They were just all good. I was, you know, your baseball card doesn't. They keep your 6'3", 185. That's when you sign.
Right. That's what you always were.
That's what you're always.
Yeah.
185.
Right.
Forever.
2-2. Tatis swings and misses for strike 3. His second K tonight. The National League Division Series on FS1 is sponsored by Taco Bell. And by Camping World, making RVing fun and easy since 1966. Done a similar thing for Dustin May. He's put on about 20 pounds over the last year and a half. That lanky frame. There's a big frame to pack that weight on.
Phenomenal arm swing and arm angle to match that frame, and the ball just explodes out of his hand naturally.
First one to Machado. 100.
I mean, that one was underneath. If he doesn't get underneath, then the ball hops. And his arm side command, which would be into a right-hander, should be a natural thing for him to do based on the way that he throws. I doubt he's 180, but that's what it says, 6'6", 180.
Yeah, he was 180 when they drafted him a few years ago, but up above 200 now. Said he eats himself pretty much sick each night during the offseason. A bunch of protein shakes, peanut butter sandwiches before bed. Here's his 1-1. Wow.
100 miles an hour down.
At the knees, but ball 2. It was May against Machado that broke the internet earlier this year. A two-seam fastball that broke like 2 feet. Machado swung over it. Pitching ninja was all over it. Flipped into right. Mookie Betts. Dustin May with a quick 5th. Halfway home in Texas. The Padres won. The Dodgers nothing. All kinds of good hair here in Texas. You got Clevenger. You got May. You got a 1-0 game in the division series. And on FS1, the Padres lead the Dodgers 1-0 as this game goes to the bottom of the 5th. And the 5th pitcher into the game, it's Tim Hill facing Corey Seager. Left-hander against left-hander, ball 1.
Well, you see the sidearm delivery. Not many of those from the left-hand side, but sidearm delivery, kind of slingshot type arm action. He'll struggle against his 4-seamer. He's got a sinker 4-seamer. And he'll throw that slider about 10% of the time, but primarily it's going to be off the 2 fastballs.
Latest in that line coming out of the bullpen for the Padres, holding the #1 offense in baseball. without a hit through 4. 6 walks and a hit batsman, so they've had opportunities, just no hits. Strike, and it's 1-2 on Seager.
So the good news and the bad news. The good news is the Padres are doing exactly what they need to do based on the unfortunate first pitcher, Clevenger. But the bad news is, with all of the pitchers that it's going to take to finish the game, it only takes one to not be on. So that's the push and pull of having many guys come in. I mean, strategically, you would think that's how you fragment a really good lineup of the Dodgers, right? You compartmentalize your pitchers and get the best high leverage matchups. But if everybody's doing what they're capable of doing when they come in. The more you bring in, the more chances one guy doesn't have it.
Going to be like a marathon runner at the end of the run, just crawling and reaching for that tape.
Yeah.
Trying to get through a game like this. Garrett Richards loosening, somebody that can give him some length. Converted starter. Seager leading off this 5th on a 2-2. He bails out of the way and the count goes full. Seager walked and lined to center. Top 10 in the league in average and in slugging. Top 10 in homers and RBIs. Resurgent year for the Dodgers shortstop. On 3-2. He hits a fly ball to center field. That sends Grisham back, and his cavernous ballpark comes tumbling down for the first out of the 5th. I want to welcome those of you that are tuning us in after watching the Rays even the series with the Yankees at a game apiece. Here in Texas, the Padres lead the Dodgers 1-0 in game 1 of this division series. Back in the 4th inning, Will Myers walked. He stole second. 2 pitches later, Austin Nola drove him in. Dodgers don't have a hit. Neither team has done a whole lot offensively. 2 for 30 combined. One gone. Here's Turner. Ball 1. I mean, you want to get the opposing starter out, of course. But it does present some unique challenges when there are different guy after different guy, different arm angle, different mix after different mix that you're constantly trying to adjust to.
There's no doubt in an individual one game, that's probably the toughest way, right? But when you have this format in 5 games in 5 days, if it goes that long, that gets a tough draw for your bullpen to do that time and time again. When you don't have options, you don't have options. It's not a formula for success long term, but it definitely creates a problem short term. And it's kind of a nightmarish game for the Dodgers if you're constantly trying to adjust on the fly and figure out you're not going to face the same pitcher twice, and you're going to see different angles and different stuff. So
that's a walk for Turner, his 2nd, the 7th for the Dodgers. So 1 out base runner. We check in back in LA with Kevin Burkhardt. All right, Kevin, Rays had the best record in the American League this season. 3 games back of the Dodgers for the best record in baseball. And even that series 1-1 tonight. Here's Muncy, and there's ball 1. Rays are one of the first organizations to really push this model of piecing things together out of the bullpen with a true pitching staff as opposed to your traditional 5 starters and then the relief corps.
But what the Rays do under the radar, and it's not even under the radar anymore, they self-correct year to year. Meaning, okay, it worked last year. Now we need more innings out of our starters. They go and get some donkeys in the front of that rotation, right? So you can get by in a year. It's just not a model like for 3 years, 2 years in a row. It's something to take advantage of the style, the aggressiveness of hitting, and the one-way kind of approach. And so if you mix and match your bullpen with the creativity that the Padres have done, the Rays have done, and other organizations like the Dodgers and Yankees, yeah, you can make a team look pretty sick in a game. But then the more those hitters get to see those guys, then it gets a little bit more level.
You do it because you have to.
Right.
You had 5 horses you could run out there. You
Absolutely.
would. Tonight, Chase Tingler has to. On a 2-1, Muncy watches a strike, 2-2.
I don't know if it's a fair analogy, but it's like that team that plays, college football game, and they get the team to overtime and they battle one overtime, and then they finally say, to heck with it. We're going for 2. We can't keep going like this. We gotta. The longer it goes, the less chances that team has to keep competing. So this is going to be one of those interesting series.
Stressful few days coming for those 2 guys.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
I think way more for Dave Roberts.
All right. Well, we touched on it a little bit, but all the pressure is on the Dodgers, who've won these 8 consecutive division championships, looking for their 4th NLCS trip in the last 5 years. But the elephant in the room is that they've not won a title since '88.
Yeah, and this is the hardest year for any team to win a championship, in my opinion. So there's no asterisks. Get that out there right there. No such thing. I don't care if they play 25 games. What every player has had to give up and deal with along the lines with the world with this COVID.
Muncy down, swinging, 2 away in the 5th.
The tournament that they're playing just got harder to win. And I would say this, it does give the Dodgers a little bit of an advantage by not having the days off, in theory, because of their depth. But you got to use your depth and be able to create that pressure for your advantage.
Chase Tingler makes that familiar walk. Tim Hill faces his 3 hitters. Back into the bullpen. Here comes Richards. Bottom of the 5th. He's a guy who was a starting pitcher that, early September they've got Lamet cruising. They acquire Clevenger. You say, well, you could probably better use Garrett Richards in the bullpen. And at the time it made sense. Now he's going to need to be somebody that gives him a decent amount of length over these games.
Funky mechanics, elbows, knees, all kinds of movement, and movement on his pitches as well. Throws across his body. Just hoping that slider would have caught the corner.
Runner at first with 2 out, 1 ball, no strikes on Will Smith. Oh, 1-1. Richards made back-to-back starts against the Dodgers early on this season. He got tagged for 4 runs in 5 innings in the first one, but then held him to a run over 6 innings in the second start. Veteran right-hander fires a 1-1. Misses badly, ball 2.
Front shoulder so important. When you throw across your body, you're creating leverage. But if your front shoulder and the timing of your leg doesn't land the right way, you're going to pull a lot of those pitches away or hang pitches on the inside part. So imagine pitching off the first base side of the rubber. You're throwing to the third base dugout and trying to create, which I've never understood, the leverage of a breaking ball that starts as a right-handed batter, but you're really losing the leverage
by moving over there,
by moving over to the third base side. But his style and the ball, that usually when you're on the first base side of the rubber, you're really, the 2-seam fastball is why you're there, to create that angle as your advantage.
2-2. Got away with one there. Signed a 2-year contract with the Padres before last season, even though he was coming off Tommy John surgery. It was an interesting deal. They signed him understanding they wouldn't really have him until this season. Well, he did come back for a few starts at the end of last year just to knock off the rust. Former first-round pick of the Angels more than a decade ago. A 2-2 to Will Smith. In the dirt, that kicks away from Nola, and into scoring position goes Turner.
Well, the spin, and really Nola was in a position where he didn't kind of get the glove in the right way to prevent that ball kind of shift. You want that ball, if you don't get it with your glove, to hit your chest protector.
Tying run in scoring position. 2 gone, 5th inning, and a 3-2 pitch to Will Smith. Third time in 5 innings the Dodgers have had a runner in scoring position. Looking for their first run, looking for their first hit still. Against 5 different Padre pitchers, make that 6 with Richards. On a 3-2, Smith fouls it off. We'll do it again. After Smith, it's Bellinger. Turner, coming off that hamstring injury, does not run well. The advantage with there being 2 outs. Another 3-2. In the dirt for ball 4. Smith takes his second walk tonight, and they get Bellinger to the plate in the 5th.
That's a good take against a breaking ball that, again, gives Smith some fits. Always felt with a base open, a 3-2 count. The advantage should go to the pitcher, especially if you know the hitter's aggressiveness at the plate. You can effectively throw some different pitches than you would. He just didn't get that pitch high enough to entice him to swing at it.
Bellinger walking a strikeout. Seems like he said that just about everybody tonight. Dodgers have 8 walks. They've struck out 5 times.
Well, since last year, nobody's hit more home runs on non-fastballs than Bellinger. 28 to be exact. So if there's a breaking ball that is over the middle of the plate, if he gets, these are the kind of pitches that Bellinger has been able to take advantage of. You'd think the fastball, we already talked about the fastball up giving him problem. The 4-seam fastball, he struggled this year, but the 2-seam sinking fastball, he can stay on it and has had more success. So if you have 2 pitches, you prefer to throw a 4-seamer if you're a pitcher against Bellinger right now.
In the dirt, but he went around, and it's 0-1. Well, the Dodgers hoping that this bad regular season for Bellinger can be erased, or at least more easily forgotten, with a big postseason performance. Because historically, even when he's had great regular seasons, he's not been able to duplicate it in October. Career 183 postseason hitter, striking out more than a third of the time. Well, they hope he can kind of flip the script on the whole thing here. On an 0-1, Bellinger takes in the dirt. 1-1.
Well, that's what's so amazing about the postseason, and now you're getting more opportunities, so the narrative either continues or you get a chance to change that, right? The postseason, unlike the regular season, year to year, you could rest on your laurels of the past 2 years and then have a bad year and say, well, he's going to return. Look at what he did 2 years ago. Postseason, every single series, you have to be able to answer the questions, right? And that's the tough part. But the great part is you could come up big with one swing, as you mentioned, and kind of undo a narrative that hasn't been great in the postseason for Cody.
On this 1-1 pitch in the dirt again. All 3 pitches from Richards have been. Bellinger ahead, 2 balls, 1 strike. Kind of a similar story for the Dodgers as a whole offensive unit, trying to duplicate what they did in the regular season in the postseason. Recent years they've not been able to do that. Still hit home runs against the Nationals last year, but they were horrible with runners in scoring position. They struck out a bunch. and lost in 5. On a 2-1, the reigning MVP swings and bounces it foul 2-2. Let's check in with Ken.
Joe, one thing Dave Roberts has liked about Cody Bellinger's at-bats in recent weeks is that he's starting to fight a little bit better when he gets behind an account. You'll see this right here. It's 2-2. We'll see where it goes, but he's producing competitive at-bats, team at-bats.
Oh for 2 with runners in scoring position. 0 for 10 though with men on base tonight. Richards to Bellinger. The 2-2. Left it over the plate, got away with it. At second base, Cronenworth. Wide throw against by Hosmer, and the Dodgers have tied the game. It's a defensive lapse that allows the Dodgers to get on the board.
Well, 2 things to watch here with Turner. Very aggressive lead, so that allowed him to get to third base and keep going as the throw was being thrown to first. Look at the aggressive lead. He takes off, and he doesn't assume that in between hop and then the throw just catches the sure-handed Hosmer on the wrong side of the bag. He gets the ball and then slings it, and it ball probably tails a little bit. And that ball right there, Hosmer usually catches without a doubt. And Turner made a nice position to get to that. If he doesn't cover that distance, he can't eat up the rest of that, let's call it 90 feet to score. But Hosmer, I mean, 99 out of 100 times is going to catch that ball. You could see he was off the base to prepare for the throw because it's a longer throw, and he just couldn't come up with it.
4-time Gold Glover. Now, initially it's ruled an E4, but he figured that's going to change when the official score sees that replay. Throw was not that far off from Jake Cronenworth. So the Dodgers still don't have a hit, but they have a run. 2 walks and an error. Now it's Pollock with runners at the corners and 2 gone. Breaking ball lifted in the air to deep left field. Sends Profar back to the edge of the warning track. He's got it to end the inning. Back at square one. Tied at 1 after 5 in Texas. Eric Hosmer leads off this 6th for the Padres. Takes ball 1 from Dustin May. Needed just 12 pitches to go 1, 2, 3 in the 5th.
Actually, a pretty good matchup with the fastball that Hosmer likes to hit.
Ooh, bad one, didn't he?
It's a good low ball hitter down in the zone. And that's where that electric fastball from May has been all night.
1-2. It's an interesting managing decision for Dave Roberts. Does he ride Dustin May here as his guy following Buehler in game 1, or does he treat this in effect as a side day and pull him out of there before the pitch count gets too high, have him available to come back and start one of the later games in the series? It's pulled sharply on a bounce. Turner able to spear it, and he throws Hosmer out 1 away. 5 at 4-3. Turner with quick hands. 1 gone.
Well, it's right where Hosmer liked it, and he squares it up. But good placement of the defense prevented that from going up the middle as a hit.
Shades of 2018 and 19 Eric Hosmer had the highest ground ball rate in baseball. He's always hit it hard. It's been a matter of elevating it. He's done that more this year. But on a bounce, Turner got him there. Strike 1 on Tommy Pham. Quickly 0-2.
I mean, this kind of stuff we're seeing tonight obviously is not a lot of fun for the hitters to try and square up 99 100 miles an hour, so hitting is definitely very difficult. But it's made a little more difficult if you have the one style approach to where you're looking for mistakes to launch, and that's what league-wide everyone does. And you could show most of the home runs in this 60-game season and probably put them in a coffee can of location. When you get to the postseason, you're not going to see as much of that because you got some elite pitchers for the most part. So the team that can, in theory, put it in play the most over the course of the postseason is going to have the best chance of winning, in my opinion.
Both these teams on the regular season did a good job of that. On a 1-2 pitch, Bam with a good take. On a breaking ball that was ticketed for the outside corner. It's 2-2. That's what he brought. That's what they knew they were getting. Plate discipline from Tommy Pham. Different attitude at the plate. They played the Padres last year. The Rays did when Pham was still at Tampa Bay. And he was very impressed by guys like Tatis and the young talent. But he said what stood out to him most was just how easy outs a lot of them were. And so he knew when he traded to the Padres that was going to be something he took pride in, helping them change that. He looks at strike 3 here. Didn't like it, but that was in there. 2 up and 2 down in the 6th. Well, this 5 games in 5 days potentially, Ken Rosenthal, is presenting a whole new set of issues and challenges for managers, isn't it?
It has, Joe, and it's a fascinating chess match that we're going to see here in this series. We've talked about the Padres not having 5 horses. The Dodgers certainly do, and one of them is on the mound right now, but the Padres were concerned that the Dodgers might not play this straight, just use one of their starters in each game. And it will be really interesting to see how long Dustin May goes here. He matches up well against the Padres. 2.60 ERA in 17 1/3 innings against them this season.
He is carving them up so far, Ken. 5 up, 5 down, and 0-2 on Myers.
And he just kicked a 35-yard field goal right there. After he delivers, he's got the same kind of
follow through. Those long limbs whipping through. A lot to look at and a lot to like for Dustin May, who struts himself off of the mound after another 1-2-3 inning. Bottom of the 6th in a 1-1 game, and it's Kike Hernandez to lead off against Garrett Richards. Spins the first one to the corner, strike 1. Garrett Richards, 32 years old. 8 years with the Angels. That included a couple years where he won 28 games, 2014 and 15. Started dealing with elbow problems. He tried to pitch through it, so he had stem cell injection, rehab the elbow. It was in constant pain, and so finally decided to undergo a Tommy John surgery. But this really, it's a shortened season, but it's his first full season since 2015.
He could be nasty, and when he was healthy with the Angels, he was nasty.
Oh.
But he does bring in, with all those moving parts and throwing across your body, mechanical issues that could lead to injuries.
Because he's learned a lot. It's his best years are still ahead of him with all the things he's learned. To step back, watch it from afar. Fires a 1-2. Hernandez fouls it into the glove. Strike 3. 1 gone in the 6th. Now, between innings, indications that it is the end of the road tonight for Dustin May. And it's a fascinating decision Dave Roberts has to make. Do you ride a guy who clearly is giving the Padres issues in a 1-1 game, or do you say, man, this guy's giving the Padres issues, we want him to start a game in a few days?
Yeah, it's hard for people sitting at home to process that, but the plan that they have, I mean, there's like probably 15 different scenarios that they go over before they happen, and sometimes you got to abort. But if the plan works for the Dodgers, what I've been preaching is that 5 days, 5 games, 5 days, 7 games, 7 days. That plan has to stay patient and work, and their depth has to win out. because that's what gives them. That's why they're the best team in baseball. Their depth is better than everybody else. So a game like tonight, San Diego's doing everything they can to hang in there and possibly win the game, and they could. But then their plan changes. They don't have the luxury of staying with the plan moving forward. They're going to have to piece it together on the fly. So I know it's hard, because if you're sitting at home and going, they can't touch me, right, let them finish the game.
So in taking them out here, they're flexing that depth.
They are flexing that depth, and they're giving themselves an opportunity to use him as a starter, because you need at least 4 starters. If Buehler was super healthy, no doubt he could go game 1, game 5. But you don't play a game 1 for a game 5. You just have the luxury of a game 5 if it comes to that. But how many times in the last 15 years have we seen a team have to use 4 starters? Rarely, because of the postseason process before gives you the luxury to not have to use 4 starters.
One on Taylor. Yeah, normally it is 2 games, an off day to travel, 2 games, an off day to travel, and then game 5. Completely different format and how you can deploy your pitching staff.
Now, I know it's not going to stay like this. I personally love this. I love the fact that we're going to get 5 days, possibly in 5 games, 5 days. I just think that's more like the regular season.
Taylor draws the walk and a 1-out base runner in a tie game. Millions of kids nationwide are without their normal access to sports and play due to COVID-19. And that's why Fox Sports and Good Sports are restoring play for kids and the programs that serve them through donations of brand new sports equipment. Help keep kids in the game by texting PLAY to the number on your screen. Top of the order for the Dodgers. Here's Betts.
See, the problem the Padres are running into, when you're turning the lineup over this many times, you're playing with more fire than you want to with a Mookie Betts. This is already his 4th at bat in the 6th inning, so that means he's guaranteed a 5th. Now, they've handled him to this point, but statistically, how many times is Mookie Betts going to go 0 for 5, right? So those are the kind of things that are interesting to digest when you get into the scenario that the Padres are currently in.
Matt Strom getting ready to be the 7th Padres pitcher tonight. Taylor at first, good wheels. As Betts watches one just miss, ball 2. Did you hear the MVP chant from the pumped-in crowd noise, trying to make it as much like a Dodger quote-unquote home game as they can?
I didn't, because I was hearing some barking out of the dugout that the umpire said it's outside.
Yeah. A lot of things we hear better this year, aren't they? On a 2-0, Betts takes a strike, 2-1. If it's possible to sign a 12-year, $365 million contract and then exceed expectations,
he can do it.
He might be doing it right now.
Yeah.
Everything he's done, not just statistically, but what he's meant for the team in the clubhouse and as a leader. They hope he's the one that puts him over the top. He's trying to chase that first title since '88. Here he pokes one down the line to left. That's into the corner. Profile races over to play the carom. Taylor stops at third on a ringing double from Mookie Betts. Second and third with 1 gone in a 1-1 game in the 6th.
Yeah, just playing with fire when you get the 4th at bat in the 6th inning. And a good play and a good bounce that kept the Dodgers from taking the lead. There's that middle end that you can't throw the ball to Mookie Betts. He wasn't trying to throw it there. It ended up there. And watch this ball carry. If it doesn't come off the wall that firmly, the Dodgers have the lead.
Well, you said it. How many times can you hold Mookie Betts down? And Jace Tingler really letting the home plate umpire Lance Barrett have it as he goes out there to make a change. You would not want to lose your manager in a game with this many decisions to make, and he just did. Jace Tingler's been thrown out of the game by Lance Barrett, and so it will be up to the rest of his staff to navigate these bumpy waters.
Well, we'll see if Mr. Tingler gets his money's worth on the way out of the mound, because he's going to have to leave. He's got thrown out.
This is a big deal.
Tell him he's going to have to exit his way. He'll get his money's worth right here.
And as you mentioned, you hear some things this year that in other years you didn't. Jace Tingler's been thrown out of this game in the 6th inning. And the co-bench coaches of the Padres, Bobby Dickerson, who is a longtime minor league coach and manager, and Skip Schumacher, will take over the management of this essentially bullpen game. Corey Seager swings and misses at the first pitch from Matt Strahm. 2nd and 3rd, 1 gone in a 1-1 game in the 6th inning. Strahm out of the Padres bullpen. The 7th pitcher of the night for San Diego.
Low three-quarter arm deliveries you see right there, trying to create a tough matchup for lefties.
The infield pulled in for the Padres. Skip Schumacher, the associate manager, will take things over. They also, of course, have the veteran pitching coach Larry Rothschild, who's been doing this for a long time and so well equipped to handle this, but not the kind of game where you want to lose your manager. On a 1-1, Seager takes ball 2.
Strahm's got 5 pitches. Usually from that arm angle you don't see 5. But he's got a 4-seamer, a sinker, and then a curveball you just saw right there, a slider. And then a changeup that he'll utilize primarily against right-handers.
Seager, who's hit it hard a couple times tonight, ahead in the count 2-1. Taylor at 3rd and Betts at 2nd. Seager watches ball 3. Turner waits on deck.
And the guy he really wants, obviously, is this guy, because then they can choose or not to pitch to Turner and face Max Muncy, lefty on left.
Seager hits it sky high to medium deep left field. Tagging at 3rd is Taylor. Profar settles under, makes the catch. Here comes the throw to the plate. Taylor's in safely, and the Dodgers have taken the lead. Their first lead of the night comes on the heels of their first hit of the night on a sacrifice fly from Corey Seager.
They may not show this in the highlights at the end unless it's the winning run, but that's a big at bat. I mean, that's what you've got to do to advance runners when they're there to be driven in. You've got to do your part. And it was just deep enough with the speed that the Dodgers had on the bases. And taking the lead.
9 walks, 1 hit, and a 2-1 lead.
I mean, this is not going to go down in your classic reel, but either team doesn't care how classic it is if they can punch the ticket for a win, right? So it might be ugly.
Turner shoots one through the right side, base hit. Betts headed for the plate. Pisco standing up, and the Dodgers lead 3-1 as Turner drives one in. More runs batted in than any player in the postseason in Dodger history. That's number 36 in 7 postseasons for Turner.
It's going to show up as a rocket in the scorebook, but in a year of exit velocity, this didn't have much to it, but what it did have is the right direction. Professional hitter in Turner. Wouldn't surprise me if he inside out of that on purpose to deliver the run.
That is the Dodgers universal barrels are overrated sign.
There you go.
Taylor. Muncy now drives the ball to the gap in left center. That is going to split him and get up against the wall. Turner will stop at 3rd. Again, that hamstring still not 100%. A double from Muncy. And boy, this offense turned it on here, given an opportunity in the 6th. Double from Betts, single from Turner, double from Muncy after they went the first 5+ with no hits.
And again, it only takes one guy to not have their best stuff coming in. The patience of the Dodgers, their lineup grinding out at bats, even though it hasn't been a pretty game, and it's opened up. That's the downside of being able to mix and match and have one guy not have his best stuff, and the Dodgers take advantage of it. Tried to go in, and that ball came back out over the fence.
So Max Muncy's first hit of the postseason puts him at second and third with 2 gone and gets Will Smith up there. I think it was Zach Greinke that a few years ago, the manager came out to see how he felt. He said, "What do you think? How do you feel?" And he said, "Probably better than that guy you got warming up there." You just don't know. Strom comes home and Smith watches ball 1. Well, still very tight game, and remember the Padres offense just as good as the Dodger offense. And the Padres have been the best late game offense in the sport this year.
Yeah.
This is a big at bat for Will Smith. Craig Stammen won. 2-0. We're going to put Smith on intentionally in the lefty-lefty matchup with Strom and Bellinger. 3rd walk tonight for Smith, the 10th for the team, which is 1 shy of the franchise record for a postseason game.
I'm going to call it.
What do you got?
They're going to have it.
They're going to set the record?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the chances.
Is that a long limb, short limb? I went on a
barely. I think you're still like hugging the trunk of the tree. Excellent. Big rip, strike 1. Not done it since 1974, though. Taking 11 walks in a game. That is in the postseason.
74. That would have been against. Don't tell me. I was 5 years old. No, 7 years old.
Let's get the age right first. We'll figure out the team.
I have no chance to know.
That is just missing. And home plate umpire Lance Baird has already thrown Chase Tinker out of the game, not being any kinder. It was the A's in the World Series, 1974, last time that happened. Fouled off 1-2. Bellinger 0 for 2 tonight. He walked his first time. He struck out and put a ball in play that led to the first run of the game. Jake Cronenworth fielded it. Would have been the final out of the inning, but Hosmer couldn't catch it at first. He allowed the Dodgers to tie it, taking the lead 1 inning later.
And that was huge because that can change a lot of strategy for the opposing manager as well if it was still 1-0.
Ground ball up the middle. Cronenworth lays out to get there, but everybody's safe and they lead it 4-1. And an infield hit from Cody Bellinger to score Justin Turner.
Well, Dave Roberts told us again he wanted his team to battle and have great at-bats, grind out at-bats, put the ball in play. And this is exactly what they've been doing in this inning. And they've been rewarded. Some big 2-out hits. And really, it hasn't been super pretty, but they don't care. That's why they're doing that little
barrels are overrated thing.
Barrels are overrated. I love it.
No hits over the first 5 innings for the Dodgers. They've got 4 of them here in the 6th inning. Craig Stammen coming in with the Dodgers in front 4-1. Falling short of the finish line. Still a long way to go, though. Base is still loaded for the Dodgers as Craig Stammen comes in to face A.J. Pollock. The Dodgers have batted around in this 6th inning. Strike 1.
Stammen, another funky reliever that the Padres have assembled, where not your prototypical mechanics, but he throws across his body and creates an illusion to the hitter with all the funkiness and tough to hit.
He was the opener in that Game 3 win against the Cardinals. Went 1 2/3. Pollock chases, and it's 0-2. This is the first time in the modern era that a team had used 9 different pitchers and a shutout. Postseason or regular season.
I mean, it's tough to do for all the reasons we've talked about tonight, but they were able to do it in the most crucial time to get Vance, to get here. They didn't envision, I wouldn't think, tonight was going to go that way, but it turned into that because, unfortunately, Clevenger had to leave early.
That one gets by Nola. Charging home from third is Muncy, and they lead 5-1. Everybody advances. A wild pitch from Stammen allows Muncy to score.
Now, seeing it live, we'll get a chance to see it again. I think Nola just, I don't want to say he relaxed, but mechanically didn't look like he was in position for that breaking ball in the dirt. Looked like he just used his glove to kind of scoop it like a first baseman, and never got his body and shifted over. With the runner on third, you got to do whatever you can to, of course, not let that ball get behind him.
And Austin Nola's talked about that being an old habit. It's been hard to break for the converted shortstop, who's got quick hands, and that's a big part of the reason he's been good at catcher. But using his hands on everything is something he's trying to break the habit of. Pollock sends one in the air to left. Profar comes on to make the catch and end the 6th, but the Dodgers bat around. They go the first 5 innings without a hit. They get 4 of them here in the 6th and have opened up a 5-1 lead in Game 1.
Yeah, when you touch my hand and talk sweet talk, I gotta knock it.
Dodgers getting 4 runs in the 6th. Seager, Turner, and Bellinger all driving runs in. And it's 5-1 on to the 7th. Third pitcher of the game for the Dodgers is the left-handed rookie Victor Gonzalez, who delivers to Jake Cronenworth. Ball 1.
Got underneath that sinker right there, but the majority of the pitches, 52% of the time, he's going to throw a sinker, and then he'll follow that with a slider, an occasional four-seamer, and once in the blue moon, a changeup.
Opponents against that slider, John, 2 for 24. Make that 2 for 34. Let's see it.
Tough angle again. You know, no matter how you throw a baseball, there are angles to which hitters don't pick up the ball as opposed to others they see the ball better. And some of these guys have just a natural arm angle that if they don't get underneath the pitch and flatten it out, it has a great effect at the plate.
Rifles in a fastball, 1-2 on Cronenworth. 2 years ago, Victor Gonzalez almost quit baseball. He was 1.5 years removed from Tommy John surgery. His velocity only gotten back up into the mid-80s. So frustrated that there were games that he would leave in tears. He just wasn't having fun anymore. And the Dodgers were going to demote him a level. Cronenworth puts it in play. Gonzalez there to stop it. Rose on to first to get him for the first out of the 7th. Instead of going down a level, he decided to go back home to Mexico. He said, you know what? I'm done. His friends talked him into giving it another shot, so he goes back. He struggles some more. This is in 2018. And then he goes into spring training last year thinking, look, I've got to perform here in spring training or I might not have a choice. I might be done because they might release me. But he has a good spring training, starts in high A, climbs all the way to AAA by the end of last season as they unleash him out of the bullpen for the first time. And now here he is making his major league debut in 2020 and going from somewhat of a curiosity to somebody Dave Roberts really trusts in high leverage. Austin Nola takes ball 1.
Yeah, it's interesting on when it clicks and that whoever helped talk him out of it, good for them and good for him because he sure has looked nasty this year.
Chop it to third, Turner. Wide throw, Muncy able to go get it. 2 up and 2 down. 1 in 5 kids in the U.S. may not be able to afford to play next season. Text Little League to 313131, and T-Mobile is going to donate $1 to their Little League call-up grant program so our kids can keep playing ball. 313131. 5-1. 7th as Profar comes up. Tight zone continues from Lance Barrett, which goes against the umpire scouting report on him. Ball in the strike. Good for Jurickson Profar, huh? Having a year like this, really settling in with the Padres. Guy who you mentioned earlier was the #1 prospect in all of baseball before dealing with a shoulder injury, and went from being a guy who debuted as a 19-year-old to not even becoming an everyday player until he was in his late 20s. It's been a key piece for them this year, though.
Can't imagine the expectation once they tout you a certain way, they being the key word, because it's always somebody else's evaluation of what you're supposed to do or what you're capable of doing.
On a 1-2 from Gonzalez, Profar takes in the dirt, 2-2. Top of the order, Trent Grisham after Jurickson Profar. Two. Full count. Ken?
We talked about Gonzalez possibly quitting at one point. I asked Jurickson Profar yesterday, hey, during those 2 years when you had the shoulder issues that led to surgery, did you think about quitting? He said, nope. I just kept focusing on my rehab. I always believed once I got healthy, I could be a good player.
And he has been. Back-to-back 20 home run seasons with the A's. And a career year this year with the Padres. On a 3-2 pitch. It's a chopper to short for Seager. And the Dodger bullpen has gone 9 up and 9 down with 2 perfect innings from Dustin May and now 1 from Victor Gonzalez in his postseason debut. A 1-2-3 7th for Victor Gonzalez. Dodgers 5, Padres 1. Bottom part of the order. Kike Hernandez leads off against Craig Stammen and takes ball 1. Beautiful ballpark, huh?
Oh man. Surface, everything about it, just about as clean. Fans are going to love this place when we get back to normal.
And going to be fans in here for the championship series,
yeah.
The World Series. So about 11,000. 25 years in the ballpark in Arlington, as it was known at one point, known a lot of things, but that's across the street, still standing, hosting high school football and some concerts these days, or eventually. So Hernandez hits a fly ball to left center field. Profar back onto the track to catch it. Big time difference in the 2 parks and the way the ball flies. That was one of the most homer happy parks in baseball.
Yeah.
This has been the least homer happy park through one season.
Yeah, and you know, for the most part, during the heat of the summer, which has been tough on the Texas Rangers franchise from an injury standpoint for the pitchers, the roof will be closed a lot. I just think it's classic. It's a nice, fair ballpark, and glad we're here. Glad we're playing the rest of postseason here until we crown a champion.
Here's Taylor with 1 gone, swinging and missing. So you've got the division series here. Got a division series down in Houston. The Braves overcoming a After the lackluster outing from their ace Max Fried today to win Game 1. And then, of course, in the American League in Southern California at these two teams' home parks. It's funky to watch a game at Dodger Stadium on the giant video screen here while the Dodgers are down in the field warming up here.
Well, the ball's been jumping out of that stadium lately. Holy cow.
Astros 2-0 on the A's. 1-2 on Taylor.
See that two-seam fastball that Salmon has. He also has a cutter, so he can make the ball go opposite lanes, which has made him tough. Ball goes into a right-hander, and then he has the ability to go away with a cutter.
Got him swinging. 2 up and 2 down in the 7th. We're talking about some of the other division series. Travis d'Arnaud, the sudden offensive star over the last year. A tie-breaking 3-run home run to help the Braves beat the Marlins in Game 1. George Springer's gone 6 for 9 with a couple home runs to help the Astros with a 2-0 lead. How about 18 strikeouts by Rays pitchers tonight?
Absolutely. I mean, the Rays, you want to talk about a collection of arms. The Rays have a collection of arms. They're dangerous. Of course, the Yankees offense is dangerous. That's a great matchup over there. And hey, let's face it, the Houston Astros don't have a lot of outside fans based on what happened the last year or two, but they're playing pretty good baseball at the time where they feel like they're going to show people a difference, and that's why they're up 2-0. But
Bet sends one in the air to left center field. Grisham going back, and this park swallows another. A 1-2-3 7th for Stammen in a 5-1 game. Connecting fans in all 50 states with America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile, your ticket to the game. 4 runs in the 6th for the Dodgers. They have a 5-1 lead as we go to the 8th. And Victor Gonzalez, who worked a 1-2-3 7th inning, out there to face the left-handed batting Trent Grisham. Top of the Padres order. Strike 1 on Grisham.
A lot of people may forget the storyline in this game for me was a 3-0 count, bases loaded, and Buehler worked his way out of that inning. That was the Padres' best chance so far to not only create tension for the Dodgers, but possibly change the order of how this game would have gone.
Grisham down the line. That's a fair ball into the corner, and he's got an extra base hit to open the 8th. Trent Grisham's first hit of the postseason, snapping in 0 for 14. A leadoff double. And again, Padres have been the best comeback team in baseball this season.
That's fair.
That'll do it for Victor Gonzalez. Dave Roberts comes out and takes it. And a 5-1 game. Back into the bullpen they go with Blake Trinan. Game 3 of the American League Division Series. Game 2. Marlins and Braves at 2 on MLB Network. We'll be back at 8:30 Eastern later tonight. Trying it on for Tatis Jr. And a tailing fastball misses inside, ball 1.
Trying tremendous sinking action. One of the heaviest sinkers in the game. And when he's on, boy, there is not a lot of balls in the air. A great add to the Dodgers bullpen. Of course, a couple years ago, just had a fantastic year with the A's.
It's one of the great relief seasons ever, 2018. Comes in on Tatis, who flexes it foul, and it's 1-1. We talk about Fernando Tatis and his all-around game. How about what he's done and his improvements defensively? Time for StatCast, powered by Google Cloud. StatCast outs above average. Graded him as the 6th worst player in baseball last year. He's gone from that tied for the best. And he says the biggest thing is the routine plays. He always gets to everything, but it's fundamentally sound on the routine plays that he's been much better at this year.
Yeah, we have a lot of good analytics that can tell the story. I'm not so crazy about that stat right there because it's a little, I think, exaggerated badly for him last year. I just don't think the defensive metrics on this particular person were as accurate. I mean, most of them were throwing errors.
Yeah.
And to your point, he got to everything, so no doubt he was going to clean that up and be much better this season. So that one gets me a little, you know, I'm going to look at that with a little crooked eye. For the other ones, there's a little more validity to it, but the defense is an imperfect kind of, it's a barometer and gauge. But I always felt last year that was purely because he got the balls nobody could, but he got docked because he didn't make the throws. And
definitely
a lot of them off balance too.
Yeah, definitely the most inexact thing to measure in baseball, Ken.
It is for sure, Joe, but one difference for Tatis this season is the fact that the Padres hired bench coach and infield coach Bobby Dickerson away from the Phillies. Dickerson is the same guy that helped Manny convert to third base when he was in the minor leagues with the Orioles at 19 years old. He's a very renowned infield coach. And here's something very unusual that happened during the shutdown. Bobby Dickerson had a heart attack, and he took about a month off to get better. They put a stent in. He's fine now. He's right on the bench tonight, but Tatis credits him for his defensive transformation this season.
A swing and a miss and strike 3 for Tatis, his third K tonight, and Manny Machado has credited him with being a big part of his resurgent season. Giving him a nudge to make sure he gets back to grinding, paying attention to the details, something that Machado admitted he'd kind of fallen off on.
I don't know how they get much better defensively, though, when he's playing his game at third base.
Isn't it awesome, those two guys over there?
You talk about net hardly ever making a bad throw. Doesn't matter if he's looking or not. It's always chest high, chest high. I mean, he's just been a gifted defender for his young career.
Strike over the inside corner. That's the thing. You say young career. It seems like he's been around forever. He's in his 9th year, but he's still only 28 years old.
Yeah.
It's in the 2nd year of a 10-year contract. Signed prior to last season. Really had his pick. Could have gone anywhere. The Padres surprised him by showing interest, being willing to hand out that kind of money. But as soon as they approached him, he thought, okay, let me learn a little bit more about this organization. I know that I like what I see as far as their minor league system. Who doesn't love the city of San Diego? When you put those things together, obviously $300 million doesn't hurt to sweeten the offer. But he found his home. 2 balls, 1 strike. He's one of 3 players that has hit 30+ home runs in a full season. Throw this one out. 30 or more home runs in 5 consecutive years. Arenado, Nelson Cruz, Manny Machado. On a 2-1 from Trinan, he watches a sinker dip low, and it's 3-1. The Padres have a late rally in them. They did in Game 2 against the Cardinals with their season on the brink. They were down 1-0 in that series. They trailed the game 4-0 and then exploded late. That is rifled to short on a short hop. Seager's got it, and he throws Machado out 2 away. And now a quick word from Lysol.
Major League Baseball is stepping up to the plate with Lysol to help protect the players chasing postseason dreams. Lysol, what it takes to protect.
2 gone, 8th inning. Up comes Eric Hosmer.
Again, this is a matchup that should favor Hosmer. Even as nasty as that sinker is for trying to try to elevate it. Because that's what you got to do, right? I mean, there's strength on strength. If he makes those pitches on the outside part of the plate, probably has success. But you can see the first pitch was trying to get the ball up.
Cuts this one. Foul ball, 1-1. Lake Trinan of Osage City, Kansas. Population of about 3,000. Hour and a half outside of Kansas City. Graduating class of 48. A long, winding road to go from Osage City to the major leagues as an all-star. 3 different colleges. Finished up at South Dakota State. Good baseball powerhouse, South Dakota State. Swing and a miss, 1-2.
I'm going to say there's less than 3 people that have come out of South Dakota State.
Powerhouse, probably an exaggeration, yeah. The Jackrabbits. Really good football program.
Really good football program.
Grisham started this inning with a double. He's still at second. Here's Trinan, deals 1-2. And strikes out Hosmer with a back foot slider. Dodger bullpen locked in tonight. 5-1 in game 1. Welcome back to the NLDS presented by Doosan on FS1. Behind a 4-run 6th inning, the Dodgers lead the Padres 5-1 to the last of the 8th. And Luis Patino, hard-throwing rookie, delivers to Corey Seager, and the short right fielder, Manny Machado, makes the catch. This is the ballpark where he made that play. I don't know if you remember from earlier this summer. He's the third baseman, remember, and he made a running over-the-shoulder catch in the right field corner.
Yeah, it was crazy play, and of course, because they're letting you stand there, this is what you can do: take away hits. Couldn't have taken that away if you had to be on the dirt.
You think?
Oh, I'm a big fan of
banning the ship.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to go into it, but this would have been a good year to have an experiment of seeing what would have come to play. Right? Would there be more hits? We talk about exit velocity. Well, you can protect exit velocity if you put those guys deep over there. And the greatest way to score a run is what? Hit it over the fence. So there's not going to really be any incentive to try to hit the ball on the ground. So everyone's trying to lift the ball in the air. I just think it would really be an interesting experiment to see if there are more unintended hits that would come into play.
1-2 on Turner, and like you said, this would have been the year to experiment with that.
My point with that is every other sport has done things to change the flow of what they want, right? Football's got more scoring. Well, they want more scoring, so they've made defensive rules to change that. Hockey wanted more scoring. They've changed rules. In every sport, that's really kind of what's going on. So we'll see. There's been a lot of things that come out of this year that I've really liked that people didn't like in the beginning. They're like, oh, this is stupid, 7-inning doubleheader or extra inning rule. And then as you see it play out, you go, not that bad if it's done in the right way.
And I think the interesting thing is baseball doesn't necessarily need more scoring. It needs more action if there's something to nitpick, right? And by limiting the shift, you would essentially promote more.
I think so, yeah.
To pop up the second. Turner's out number 2. And a quick word from Apple.
Don't want to miss a game during the postseason? Hey Siri, show me postseason baseball schedules.
Two up, 2 down for Patino. Here's Muncy, who got his first extra base hit. His first hit period of the postseason, his last time out. 1 ball, no strikes. Hey, they're still sitting on 10 walks. Who did go out on a limb saying they'd get to 11?
They sure did.
Uh-oh. 2-0.
Well, if there's any guy that's got a great eye at the plate, it's this guy. I mean, he just doesn't expand the zone. And looking for his pitch to hit. And a couple of years ago, didn't miss it at all.
Hits this ball in a ton to right center field. That sends Myers back at the wall. Grisham will pull it in. And end the inning. A lot of balls dying on the warning track tonight. Kenley Jansen getting ready for the ninth. No Kenley Jansen just yet. Blake Trinan back out there for the ninth inning. And ball one on Tommy Pham. Dodger bullpen tonight, 4 innings, 1 base runner.
Yeah, they've been outstanding. What a difference a year makes between last year and this year so far early in the.
Lifted to right, Mookie Betts to retire Pham.
Last year, 14 earned runs in 18 2/3 innings.
A 5-game loss to the Nationals. Dynamic play of the game presented by Hankook Tire. The Dodgers trailed 1-0. This was in the 5th inning with 2 out. That would have ended the inning. But Hosmer just misplayed it and allowed Turner to come in to tie the game. The floodgates open the next inning with a 4-run frame. That does it for Blake Trinan. 1 1/3 scoreless innings, and Kenley Jansen comes on.
Clevenger, the Dodgers grind out those at bats. Well, they did that to 10 walks. And look at the pitches seen and use their depth. Their bullpen has been outstanding. And the Dodgers, with that 4-run inning, open this game up. And now Jansen looking to close it out.
4th man out of the bullpen for him, facing Will Myers. Kenley Jansen, the all-time saves leader for the Dodgers. One of the great closers of this generation. But recently found out in a conversation with Dave Roberts that he's plans to use him in different parts of the game. No longer does the 9th inning belong exclusively to Kenley Jansen. Dave Roberts not saying you won't see Jansen in safe situations, only that it won't only be Jansen in those situations.
Well, the key, and they probably worked out a couple kinks in his delivery, because the cutter that he's so famous for needs to be lateral. Can't go down. They don't want a north to south break. They want that tight late break that you saw in the first 2 pitches. That's why the miles per hour won't matter as much as if you get that late break on that cutter. The curveball that he'll throw every once in a while gives it a change of pace to the hitter's eyes, but the cutter can't morph into a curveball break. It has to stay in that box going from the inside to the right-hander away, or inside to a left-hander cutting in on the barrel of the bat.
Alarm bells sounded game 1 of the wild card round when he pitched. Dave Roberts described his stuff as lacking teeth.
Yes.
Strikes out Myers here for out number 2 of the 9.
You can see all of those are good signs, because the illusion of a cutter, when it's thrown like a Mariano Rivera, which he had the best one in the history of the game, it doesn't really matter the velocity. It's the perception that it gives the hitter that the ball is actually, in some cases, rising, but has that funky spin that makes it seem faster than it actually is.
So the Padres down to their last out. Jake Cronenworth, who is 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. And he starts to spin it ahead to game 2. The Dodgers sitting pretty with Clayton Kershaw going. Well, the Padres still have not announced who will start the second game.
So whatever they did early in these last couple days to alter his mechanics and the hand on his ball, it certainly has paid dividends so far in these 2 at bats from what I've seen.
There's his pitching coach, Mark Pryor. Started his post-playing career in the front office with the Padres. 2-1 from Jansen. Strike 2 on Cronenworth.
Great grab. Crowd goes crazy.
There are a few people in here tonight. Got some family members. Anybody who is in the bubble with the teams can be in the park. Going to be sweet when they're, I'm telling you, 11,000 people is going to feel like 40,000. Biggest crowd ever.
Absolutely.
The hands are rolling along first. That's fair ball that'll finish the game. But behind a 4-run 6th inning, the Dodgers take game 1 5-1.
Well, it wasn't the prettiest of games, but they don't care about that. They grind it out. They did exactly what their manager asked them to do at the plate. See as many pitches, as many pitchers as possible. That will only bode well if they continue the same approach against the Padres staff and now really bullpen core.
Buehler was able to fight through 4 innings despite being a little bit erratic, walking 4. And then the bullpen 5 innings, just 1 base runner. So the Dodgers looking for their 4th NLCS trip in 5 years. Off to a good start in this division series with a 5-1 win, and with Clayton Kershaw taking the ball in Game 2. For John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal, Joe Davis saying so long from Arlington. Kevin Burkhardt, take it away, my friend.